It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live.
Live.
WildEarth takes you on daily intimate experiences in nature live.
This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
Join expert guides as they search for Africa's most iconic animals.
How awesome is this? She's coming right past our vehicle. Take a closer look here.
Oh, careful. Oh, no.
Ask your host questions and have them answered in real time. Join us live every day on WildEarth. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and a warm welcome to you in the Masai Mara of Kenya. We have a lioness that has been stalking here but missed out. Welcome aboard to your very own safari live from the African wilderness. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to you in the Masai Mara of Kenya. We have a lioness that has been stalking, but she's failed out. Seems like she's going to be lucky any other time soon. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. Now that lioness was trying to stalk a zebra, but the zebra turned out to be running away. So I'm going to change position follow this lioness. I can see some wildebeest rather, out in the distance. So I just want to position, see how she's actually stalking. Just going to set up there. There's some wildebeest approaching from that direction, and she looks so curious. Look at how she's walking. The wildebeest have not seen her yet. This mother has been trying very hard this morning to keep off a lion that was walking towards the den. She has cubs. She's hidden her cubs somewhere within this area. And we hope that she'll be successful because she has to nurse her cubs. Very well positioned, just waiting for the right time. So she has to remain concealed because as soon as those wildebeest see her, that will be another failed attempt. She are getting ready. The advantage of this long grass sometimes helps the lions and sometimes helps the prey. These three are unaware of the danger that is about to happen or the danger looming here. Two zebras were walking the same way, coming from that direction. They got too close to the lioness, but happened to have escaped in a split second. Now let's see what is going to unfold here. Is she going to be lucky or not? Is the wind direction going to change or not? But it seems like the wind is blowing on an opposite direction. Lying very flat to hide herself. The wildebeest are still approaching. They're still coming. From from the position where we are, I can see that they're almost closing the gap. So it seems like the lioness is going to approach them. The problem is, okay, that's a good sign when they're running because they don't get to look. But when they stop, they have to scan around. But it seems like they're walking away in a different direction. So it seems like she might decide to follow or not. Yes, she's thinking about it. Yes, look at that stealthy approach. They've not seen her at all. She has to walk very steadily. Okay, she's on the move. They've not seen her. Remember, they've not seen her at all because they're all running away. Let me change position quickly. So one of them is actually suspecting that there's something following, but not quite sure. Okay, as soon as they start moving, she begins to follow. She's on the move again. None of them is aware that the lioness is following. Okay, she's on the move. So the only chance he has now, right now, is when they get into that forest. She's stopped. Could be maybe one of them is looking back. Okay, she's on the move again. We can't really see if they will be in the forest or not. So let me just try to get a little bit closer, change position. This is getting intense. So she's gone into that forest. And unfortunately, we can't see if she's successful or not. But I'm going to position myself here. Oh, one of them is running, sprinting. So guys, I'm not sure if she's got it, but one of the... Oh, she seems like she's missed it. That's another failed attempt. The second failed attempt. So she's going to find out something later, but that was very good to see. Actually, that the stalking game. Now, I'm going to take you over to another live location. Very nice, and this.
Good afternoon, everybody. Terribly sorry about that. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. My name is Steve, joined by Theo, Arnest, and Cameron. Very excited to have you with us. How are you this afternoon? It is a wonderful 38 degrees Celsius, 101 degrees Fahrenheit, and we are coming to you live from Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, where this spotted eagle owl female is incubating some eggs. How splendid is that? Sitting on the ground on a little scrape just underneath a bush, underneath a couple small tambuti bushes, extremely camouflaged as she dozes in the heat of the day. We've decided to pop ourselves down the river here to try and find some shade and avoid the extreme heat that is blazing all around, as she seems to have done the same thing. Now, don't forget, everybody, we're live and interactive. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments, please send them through to #WildEarth or put them in the YouTube chat stream as well. Now, let's come and see if this lady was around, and then we're going to move on down towards our southern boundary, see if we can find some leopard cubs that were hanging around this morning. I think that sounds like a splendid idea to do. On a day like this, I don't think they will have moved very far, but you never know. You never know. This is a live safari, and it is wild animals. They can do whatever they like. But this female has been sitting on this nest for about 2 weeks, and another 2 weeks or so until the eggs hatch. It's about 30 days or so, give or take a day either side, before those eggs will hatch. They can have anywhere between 1, and we are very excited and very much looking forward to spending some time with some more eagle owl chicks, as we did from November through to early this year. We spent an enormous amount of time with. We are hoping for a little bit of a cool breeze. It's not much of a breeze though at the moment, especially down here in the drainage line. But what a beautiful mum, just sitting there. She has not moved. She's barely blinked an eye, to be honest. But the camouflage is extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. But no doubt he's around somewhere hidden. He will bring food to her throughout the day or night, and she only leaves the nest to feed briefly and to defecate. Obviously defecating or throwing up some owl pellets. Certain things. So she moves away to do those things. Oh, she's looking at you, Theo. Now, they will nest in all sorts of places. Been sent photographs after we spent time with Sebig last year of people in Johannesburg with little owlets living in their sort of plant boxes outside their windows, on their balconies and porches, just there in the garden in Johannesburg. How special would that be? You come out one morning and there's 5 or 6 little chicks just sitting there.
Jumbo, and a very good afternoon. This afternoon, I'm here at Mara River, and I have a few wildebeest who are discussing, and looks like they want to come to my side of the river. These are latecomers. They went to the other side, and I think they went too far. Maybe they had too much fun eating the grass, and they got caught unaware, and everybody left them, and they want to come to my side. This could be a very interesting crossing if they do this, and I'm looking forward to seeing them, do that. Jumbo, my name is Isaac, and on camera I have Bungay. Our mission today, we're going to the marsh, see if we can find some young lion cubs and maybe some elephants. That's our aim, but first things first. This is a very interesting scene. That is a very steep bank, almost 20 feet drop, and we have seen before, wildebeest jumping such a height. I don't know if this could be our chance to witness it. I'm not saying anything. There is a nice path to come down in the direction they are heading, but there is a good number of crocodiles blocking the track. So I don't know if they're gonna come down. Let's see. Are they gonna come, or are they gonna pass on coming to my side?
It is starting to rain. I don't know if it will deter them from coming my way, but their aim is to come to my side of the river. Remember, when they reach such a crossing, it can take 2 minutes to decide. Tyler, Jumbo, it's not always, you want to know, will they get injured? It's not always that they get injured, and being a few like this, I doubt it. What might happen here is that a few might get eaten. This is a section of the river that is full of crocodiles. So Tyler, they might not get injured, but they might get eaten. So that is what might happen. I can't see them, they're behind that bush there. But if they do decide to come down, I will be able to be in a position to show you when they come down. So let me stick here and let's take you to another live location.
Good afternoon, Dumela. Welcome to Tswalu Kalahari, and what a beautiful sight that we have here this afternoon. A very warm welcome and good afternoon to everybody. My name is Kyle. Behind camera, as always, is the one and only Mr. David. Hello. Yes, hello. So this beautiful Moment 3 over here, fantastic. If you see on the right hand side, she actually killed she got breakfast from this morning for these little cubbies, which is very nice from her. And she's very dedicated, this female, looking after these little ones to the highest degree. But what a beautiful sight. So they were found fairly late this afternoon, but all the best now because we've got her for the afternoon. You can see where she's laying in the shade. It's fairly warm today. It's about 29 degrees at Celsius. It's warm, but we're lucky that there's a nice breeze blowing from the south to keep things nice and cool. And where she can take things really easy now. The time and energy she's putting into these little ones is just tremendous. Sure, they're growing. She's found a bit of shade under a nice small shepherd's tree, obviously providing the comfort she needs right now. Fatima, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Having a view like this of this beautiful lady with those 3 little cubs is such a treat, and it is just picturesque. Oh, she heard something there. You can see her response was very quick. Obviously now with this carcass here, she is at higher risk, especially with these little cubs. This is where she needs to make sure she keeps tabs on her surroundings to ensure the safety of her and the little ones. And you can see she's not that worried where she feels that she needs to remove herself and as well as the cubs out of this area, because this is when cheetah are most affected. Dylan, how many cheetahs on the Kalahari? Whew, Dylan, I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. So, worldwide, cheetah populations between 7 and 7,500 left, which is a blip on the radar. Obviously, their behavior of roaming far and wide puts them into conflict, unfortunately, with stock farmers. They get predated on a lot by larger predators, obviously intra-specific competition. So cheetah in the Kalahari, it would be a very hard figure. I don't think there is a figure. There might be a round figure, but I'm really not sure. But worldwide, between 7 and 7,500 of these beautiful cats left. And so Tswalu, the vegetative type that we are, the area and obviously being protected, this is a safe haven for these beautiful and majestic cats. Tswalu has a very healthy population of cheetah. On Tswalu, I would estimate there's about over 40 different individuals, which is very healthy. So in terms of genetics and then sustaining the species in the long run, Tswalu is doing every little bit it can to ensure the safety of this endangered species. But in the Kalahari, sure. All large carnivores, unfortunately, are under a little bit of pressure. Habitat loss being a big factor, unfortunately. Farming, conflict with humans, so big negative factors for these roaming cats. We're going to send you off to another amazing location, and we'll see you shortly.
From the cheetahs now back to Alanis, who seems like she's taking a rest after 2 failed attempts. Wow, she has to rest for a little bit. Now, lands can be successful sometimes and sometimes they can fail. Out of 5 attempts, 2 might be successful or either 1 can be successful. She got too close to the zebra and she also got too close to the wildebeest. Now she's scanning again to see if an opportunity will come her way. Remember, she has cubs in there, and Split Nose or Bob Marley is on the other side of this ravine, where he's waiting patiently to see or sneak to where this lioness will head, where the cubs are. So this lioness has to be very cautious in case that lion gets too close to this place. She has to rest, gain some energy until she goes out to hunt again. Preferably she might try at night, but if some of the zebras or wildebeest come again, because we've seen evidence that some of them are still back where those 3 came from, she will again try an attempt. But for now, she has to wait, rest, or maybe walk to where the herds have moved to. Preferably at night, which is much better, cool. She might try again to hunt, because I can see she looks a little bit skinny, because the cubs have been straining her from how they were nursing. I'm going to still sit here and wait. Maybe another opportunity is going to pay, and watch what's going to unfold. So if another opportunity is going to take part, she's going to do the same stalking game, get closer to the prey, maybe a little bit of run, and then if successful, get it down or not, then it's going to be a lose game for her. This is a very good place where it's at least concealed and secure, where she can keep her cubs. But unfortunately, we've seen the male lion by the name of Split Nose or Bob Marley, who tried to come closer. She was not happy at all. She looks a little bit 50-50, because she might think of either swapping the den, but she cannot do that if that male is present, if that male is around here. In the morning, she got herself lucky with a tiny antelope. I couldn't really tell if it was a reedbuck or a baby impala, but that at least got her an energy. That is very nice, because she can at least do the stalking game and also nurse her cubs again.
Well, we wish you all the luck that side. With that lioness on the hunt, very exciting stuff to watch a lioness hunt, especially during the daylight hours. Where this lady would have made breakfast available for these little ones at about early hour of this morning. You can see just the hindquarters there. So just for sensitive viewers, it is and for all the youngins, please. Tracy, are these little ones eating meat? Yes, they would be. Definitely at this stage over here. So they're suckled for between 2 and 4 months. And that can continue up to 5, maybe even 6. But they start at about 6 weeks. They would start eating meat. And then also along the lines, Mom would allow them to start honing in their skills. So now that they've started this process, Mom would, along the lines, capture small prey just like this, but actually not take it out herself. When they get a little bit older and their skills and their strength starts increasing, she will then allow them to start tackling live prey. But at this point, still drinking milk, so Mom's still providing an invaluable source of protein and material, but then those little ones would start acquiring the taste for meat from here on out. So you can see not a lot of it has actually been eaten on, showing them that they're not really interested too much. All right, we're going to send you off somewhere. We'll see you now.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody. We've managed to find a young male leopard. Now, I think it's the boy. Sabi is one of the females that hangs around on the southern side of Djuma into Little Gowrie and Chitwa, and she's got 2 cubs, a boy and a girl, and I'm pretty sure this is the boy, just from the size, a little bit bigger than the young girl, just under a year sort of age, I think 11 months, 10, 11 months, somewhere around there, if I'm not mistaken. And he's enjoying a little bit of shade. Hello, youngster. Can't believe how much they've grown since the last time I saw him. So he's doing very, very well. They had a kill on Hoffman's just south of where we are yesterday. And it was in Impala, I believe. And that was finished very quickly. But when you're feeding for 3, Impala doesn't last 3-4 days like it does if you're on your own. Especially when you've got a growing boy in your ranks. Very inquisitive little boy. Panting quite heavily. How gorgeous. I think that's amazing. We were coming in the area to find him, and well, we found him quite easily, so sometimes it's hard work and sometimes they make it real easy for you. So no name yet. The general rule here is leopards need to be a year before they get a name, generally, and then they're normally named by individual who found them first. So the first individual to find the den. And I have no idea who that was. It definitely wasn't on Djuma, so it would have been one of the eastern stations. One of the lodges, Chitwa or Nkoro, I'm not certain. Lisa, handsome indeed. He is very handsome, isn't he? A very pretty boy. Very pretty boy. I love the colour of the... a lot of the time you think leopards are all the same until you spend enough time with them and you realise the variation in the colours. The whites are different whites, and some of them are gold more than white, and the spots as well, some are darker. Like, I haven't seen Tundi's boy in a while, but he's a very pale colour. And this guy's also quite pale in comparison to the likes of Tlalamba. He's got a very gold colour. Her spots are quite dark. The rosettes, very bronze or copper in the middle. He's quite a pale fellow. It's obviously genetics. dependent on who the father was, and the mum, of course. Tracy, you want to know why all cats have fur in the ears, and a lot of it's to do with the distortion sort of factor. Like when people talk into a microphone, most microphones have muffled. They've got a little buffer on it, and that's to protect the microphone itself from wind. If you don't have a buffer or something on the microphone, you get sort of peaks in the sound and break in the sound. If you've got hair in the ears, it actually muffles the sound and it filters it through nicely. It makes it a lot more clearer. You don't get the same sort of peaks, and there's also obviously probably a little bit of protection there. So if you ever see people in sports events, they've got these things that cover their mouth to prevent their nose from blowing into the microphone. Or when you see someone at a recording studio, they've got this little sort of almost like a spit barrier between the microphone and themselves. And that's to prevent sort of that peak or spike in noise. If you just put your hand in front of your mouth, there's certain words when you flick your tongue or you talk that reverberate a little bit harder on the hand than others, and so that ear fur adds a very nice sort of buffering sound, and it probably makes the sounds a lot clearer, bearing in mind these animals hear at different frequencies to us. Oh, that's enough. He's going to have a little nap now. They can hear levels of sound far lower than we can. But we are going to spend some time with this young boy and see what he gets up to.
Well, here we are with my few 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 very brave wildebeest. As we saw them earlier trying to cross, they have moved further down, and they found this crossing, and looks like we have a crossing just about to happen. It is still not, it is about 70%. Now it's back to 20. Is it gonna happen? I don't know, but looks very, very promising. Let's see what's going to happen. That is a very brave female. Looks like she really wants to cross, and she is the self-proclaimed leader of this small herd. She keeps testing the waters and going further down. Is that the final spot? Let's see. Are we gonna have a crossing? Yes, we do have a crossing. There we go. There we go. How many are gonna make it? How beautiful is this? Remember, this is very late in the year to witness 8 wildebeest crossing. It's like icing on the cake. She made it. Look at that. Is everybody gonna make it? Yeah, she made it. That was easy. Yeah, looks like everybody is making it. These is the brave ones, the last ones, the brave ones, and looks like they're all going to make it. This is a section of the river with very few crocodiles, so she chose a very perfect and strategic point to cross. Looks like everybody has made it. Look at that. Look at that. How beautiful is that? We rarely get to see and witness, wildebeest, all of them making it, but that is, you are an eyewitness. They made it. That was amazing, guys. 8 of them, and they all made it. What else can I say? That is amazing. That's beautiful. I'm gonna go out and see how happy, or if they're doing backflips out in the plains. Yeah, remember we are at the Mara River, and this is a very different section of the river that we haven't shown you before. Close to this, where I am, is the crossing where many of them died during the crossing. It's one of the most primitive crossing further down, but these ones, they made it. All of them made it, so I'm really, really proud of them. Looks like I'm gonna try and find them. I don't know if it's gonna be easy. The track where it is, it's quite an unused area, and so I have to find my way out. Also, with nobody coming here, the tracks have disappeared a little bit. To see a crossing.
Aren't you hot with those on? Welcome back to us, and sorry about the technical difficulties, everybody, and hopefully our wildebeest decide to cross. But our little boy is very curious. That's what I love about young leopards and young lions, in fact, is they're just far more curious. Welcome back, everybody, and we are here still with our little boy, and he's very curious. What I love about leopard cubs and lion cubs is that they haven't, although they do get habituated, they're still very inquisitive about what is this thing actually, and the movements, and they look right at you. They look especially at the wheels when a car's moving. They look right at the wheels. They look at any movement on the car, and they're very sort of calculate and try to figure out what it is. When you come across adults that are habituated, they just seemingly don't care at all, unless you really, really change the nature or shape or size, whatever, of the car. They really are not bothered at all. But cubs, they look at you, and it's just so exhilarating to be right here next to a young male leopard who is very curious in life, and maybe, if it wasn't so hot, he might be doing something exciting, like playing with something, or trying to hone their skills at this age. And if his sister was around, he'd probably be giving her a little bit of a hard time, as brothers do with their sisters, don't they? Give them a bit of a hard time. But he's far more alert than I would have thought he would be. But he has been sleeping for some time, as the grass around him can show you. There's lots of flat grass. He's been rolling around. So he's been probably changing positions a few times. And you can see how heavy his breathing is. From the heat, of course, and from the fact that he's probably still got a fair amount of impala in his belly, if they only finished it yesterday. Full belly pushes up the diaphragm, which leads to them having very short, shallow breaths. Hello, Nicholas. Well, leopards are very, very opportunistic hunters. They hunt most things, and they've been known to hunt a young giraffe, adult female waterbuck, wildebeest even. But there is a degree, or there's a level to which they can't get to, and big male animals are very, very hard for them to catch. Leopards will hunt young buffalo. They'll hunt any youngster, for sure. Any youngster of any species they'll hunt. But the largest really would be probably kudu, female kudu, maybe even a female waterbuck. Sub-adults of zebras, wildebeest. Obviously, we know impala are well on the menu. But when we talk about these larger animals, it's specifically male leopards that would do so. You wouldn't find a female leopard going after a young giraffe or a medium-sized waterbuck or kudu. They generally do keep it to sort of medium-sized, so duiker, steenbok, impala, and the like, bushbuck. I saw Tingana a few times walking, and he suddenly heard something. He looked left, a big male waterbuck looked at him, and Tingana just kept walking as if he hadn't seen it. He just went, nope, you're way too big for me. You got to pick your fights, everybody. You got to pick your fights when you can. But they would scavenge, though. They would steal food from another animal, most certainly, from hyena and from wild dog. They'd bring down something larger, and nothing stopping them doing so. But a very varied diet. They'll feed on birds and small mammals, lizards, monitor lizards, snakes, anything really. So they're very opportunistic and very, very adaptable. when they're young like this, their inquisitive nature might find them chasing large animals around. There's not real much intention in it. They're keen, but they're not quite sure. So it's really, really quite something to see a young leopard running and chasing things around that are far out of their category of feeding. But nevertheless, that animal sees a leopard and they run. Always. He's looking off longingly towards the south. Maybe he's hoping for his sister to come and join him for an afternoon of play.
Yeah, so really nice question asked about would these little ones be eating meat at this stage. Yeah, so between 4 to 6 weeks, that process starts with mom. And then from there on out, she will then slowly adopt and get them accommodated to a more high-proteined diet, which would be meat like this over here. And then they would be in that weaning process anywhere up to 5 months. And that's if she can find enough food. But we can see these little ones have been feeding from their faces. You can see they look a little bit messy. They've been getting tucked in. Mom's just for sensitive viewers, please just beware. But Mom's just now moved into a nice shady spot where she can enjoy more of this lovely meal. And we give thanks to the daycare. That's what she's feeding on, because without that, she would not be able to nourish herself and then would not be able to nourish these beautiful little developing cubs. So we thank that daycare for everything that it's done. And everything it's still continuing to do. So all 3 cubs looking very healthy, very strong. You can see that beautiful grey or silver mantle of hair still very prominent. It's obviously aiding in camouflage, so these little ones can remain hidden when mom goes off to look for the next meal. And when they're born, they won't have that little mantle of silver hair. That would have only started 14 days after they were born, but would remain here for a little while longer. And every day these little guys are learning on what it takes to be a strong Kalahari cheetah. Wow, full belly there. You can see she's using her carnassial shears, so almost like premolars, just to get in there.
Cheetahs have a very good sense of humor sometimes when you find that they're playing and eating, that is becomes very, very nice. Now here we have a lion, split nose, or Bob Marley. He is so sleepy. He's not left this sighting since morning. And I'm sure he's on a mission, but not quite sure if those lionesses are going to agree or get him closer to them. JP, thank you so much for your question. The reason why I sometimes get to say depends on the availability of prey, but preferably they like larger prey, bigger prey, like wildebeest, zebra, because of the number of lions in a pride, so which can at least last them for a while. But if there's no other prey around, they'll go for warthogs, even impala, but preferably they prefer larger prey like zebras and wildebeest and buffaloes too. So Split Nose this morning had a rough time. He was being chased by one of the lionesses, the one that we saw who failed the attempt. So he's waiting for those lionesses to come and get into the den and maybe do something that most people will not like, but it's their nature, it's lion, and for them to be successful in their pride, they have to do that, which sometimes is not good when it comes to human, but lions have to be lions, and it's their natural environment, and that is how they are. It seems like he's a little bit sleepy, but I'm still going to hang around here, see if those lionesses will come here. I am certain that if those lionesses come here, he's going to have a rough time. He's been walking around from territory to territory. I saw him with the Owino Pride. I saw him with the Lolo Pride. He went all the way to the River Pride. Tried to catch some of the lionesses, but neither of them in those prides were happy with him. So he got chased off. I saw him at this very spot where two of the Lolo Pride lionesses came and chased him off because he was trying to catch one of them and they were not happy at all with her. This means that he's been having a very rough time. Today, he got the same, being chased out by that lioness. So what does he have to do? So the only trick that he might use, and which is lion taking their course and nature taking their course, it's either he kills the cubs or maybe he walks off to another place. If lions are fully fed, they can spend about 12 or even 10 hours sleeping. And at around dawn, almost nightfall, they wake up, see them cleaning their faces, and start going on to their daily activity. So soon at night, you'll hear this lion roar, trying to announce his presence.
Well, our little boy is also having a bit of a nap, although he's barely closed his eyes. I suppose when you're this sort of age, he hasn't quite figured out the ways of the world, whether he's safe or not. Big male lion, even a lioness for the most part, they pretty much know they're the boss. Nothing bothers them, so they can sleep flat. Big male leopard's the same. They know that not much is going to bother them. But a young boy like this, little bit sort of unsure of what's going on around. And TaylorMade, I think I answered that question before about the breathing. It's to do with the fact that it's very hot and also that he's still got a fair amount of impala in his belly. So the belly pushes up the diaphragm, and so the diaphragm is pushing up the lungs, which then obviously reduce the amount of space the lungs can inhale at one time, and so the breath is shallow. So it needs to increase in its rapidity to be able to allow enough oxygen into the blood. Obviously, if the belly is pushing the lungs into smaller capacity, then to get the same amounts of oxygen, you need to breathe quicker. It's also the temperature would also be incorporated in that. Breathing in on the nostrils would probably help with a bit of cooling through evaporation. And then a lot of cooling actually happens on the bottom of the feet. Bottom of the pads. Give off a fair amount of heat if you're covered in a blanket of fur like that. It's very hard to get rid of heat. A very good way to do so is through the nose. Dogs, we know, use their mouths and their tongues. A lot of evaporation off the tongue helps to cool them down. If you've never taken a dog for a walk, or if you have, you'll know exactly what I mean. They create even more saliva as they get hotter, and that saliva gets everywhere. See his ears are twitching left and right. He's very alert. If his mom was nearby, he'd probably have a proper sleep, proper nap. But we don't know where she is. She was apparently here early this morning with his sister. Escaping, he is growing up very quickly. Going to be very, very interesting to compare. From the last time I saw him, I've got some pictures I'm going to compare with to see. I think it was about 2 months ago that I last saw him on Chitwa itself. And so it'll be nice to go and compare the size of them together. Growing boy, no doubt he's already a handful. Mum having to deal with one cub, let alone 2 cubs, with one of them being a boy. The boy is very pushy, a little bit obviously far stronger than his sister, so prone to dominating when food is provided. Sky Doogie, he could go up into tree and sleep if he wanted to. There's nothing stopping him from doing so. And they do that. Leopards do that. It does take a bit of practice to fall asleep in a tree. But where we are right now, there's not really any suitable trees in the immediate vicinity. There's a couple marulas further up the bank there, but there's nothing really here. We've got some tambuatis around and some very awkward trees right here in the drainage. And to be honest, where he's sitting in the coolness of the shade here is actually very, very nice. It's nice and cool down here. We're in the shade ourselves, and we're having quite a nice time. There's a nice breeze that's flowing in through the drainage from our right-hand side, and so that's cutting across his body. So I think he's in a good spot. He's in a very good spot. But yes, they do that quite regularly, climb up trees to cool down and also to stay safe. But it takes a bit of practice to fall asleep in a tree, and maybe he hasn't quite gotten that right. But yeah, I would sleep a lot more soundly up in the tree. But then he probably also will realize after a period of time that this time of day is unlikely to be surprised by any bigger predator, because like him, they are also very, very hot.
I couldn't agree with him more. Sleeping up in the tree is always safer than sleeping on the ground, especially when there's large carnivores in the area. That's where this mom has to be very cautious, because if something catches wind of this carcass, she's going to have to do a little rumble in the jungle here. Jackal's nose, hyena's nose are specially designed to pick up carcasses from a very, very far away. A jackal can pick the smell up from up to 1 kilometer away, which is incredible. Sure. Nice and breezy. Makes me feel easy. There we go, the little one's getting tucked in with mom. And what a sight to see, cheetah on a carcass in the red sands. Wow. So they still have a way to go before they become accomplished hunters. That'll still be a couple of months before they really start getting paws dirty, let's say it that. Well, Gold, how are Kalahari cheetahs different to other cheetahs? So cheetah's a cheetah. Its behavioral, let's say its behavioral traits would be different from place to place. So cheetah in the Kalahari would obviously specialize in different prey. For this mother like this, larger prey items, she would have about a 50, 60, maybe 70% success rate. Small antelope like this, maybe 90 to 100. But cheetah and the Kalahari, they walk far. There's been cheetah, so in southern Africa there's been cheetah recorded of having a life home range of over 1,500 square kilometers. So these animals have to change their behavior in order for them to survive harsh areas like this. So even, utilizing a crepuscular format, so hunting early morning, late afternoon, and then also when an opportunity arises, even midday heat, taking it as it comes. So behavior is a big thing, and then prey selection. That's how cheetah would vary across the continent of Africa, although they are just all one species, cheetah. So the animal basically adapting itself into its environment that it's in. We're going to send you off, and we'll see you now.
Well, welcome back. And here I am in the plains of Masai Mara after seeing my 8 the bravest wildebeest cross the mighty Mara River. I have come across this beautiful medium-sized herd of wildebeest, and I think that's where all those, the 8 guys are going to come. And looks like they're very busy filling up their tummies towards the end of the day. Very peaceful here. Seems to be heading away from me. But definitely this is all part of the migration. So it's not over until the day that I will go for 1 week without seeing a wildebeest. Then, I'll say it's over. But at the moment, it is not over. The little guy is calling, those are calves that have lost their mums. Can you listen to that? Unfortunately, it is like he heard me speak about him, and he understood English, and he decided to embarrass me, and he went quiet. But these are all part of the migration, and these are very brave, because the area we are in is full of lions, but I don't see any, and they don't know that. But I'm sure, one of them might end up, dying for the rest to survive.
Well, you're back here in the drainage line with us, everybody, in a little depression where basically low-lying area in the landscape where the water runs. That's why it's called the drainage line, and the sediment is normally quite deep here, so you get normally quite tall trees, and the moisture is quite low under the surface, so you often get greener grass in the dry months. Very, very tall trees because of the deep alluvial soil, and this is the perfect habitat for leopards. So whenever we drive around looking for leopards, these are the areas we're looking in, especially in the winter months. These shaded drainage lines with the cooler, greener grass on the low-lying areas. Always have a little scan. You wouldn't expect to find a leopard in the hot days being out in the open in the middle of nowhere or up on the slopes where it's warm. Often find them low down or in the top of a tree where they're getting a bit of, or in the shady tree that is. You won't find them in a leafless tree. Shady tree where they can actually shade themselves and at the same time let the wind cool them down. This fellow is probably going to stay here for some time. Maybe get up the courage to follow his sister. Maybe pick up the scent of sister and mum with his nose. Follow them across the road to a little gari on the other side there. Hello, Gemma. You want to know why leopards usually roam alone? Well, leopards and most cats, in fact, are solitary. So it's only lions that have formed a social structure, forming prides. So all cats, unless they've got cubs, are solitary. So except for lions. So if you find more than one leopard together, it might be a mating pair, or it might be mum with her offspring. That's the way it works. She can only tolerate them for 2 years, when eventually her social, solitary needs overwhelm herself and she has to push them away. Especially when this young boy, at 1.5 years, 2, starts taking all the food she provides. Then she gives him all sorts of aggression and sends him packing. Doesn't mean he goes, it means he still hangs around to try to steal food, but eventually he gets the message and goes on a walkabout himself, generally due to the fact that a big male in the area will decide that his presence is not welcome, and he will show him more aggression than mum would have, and he goes walkabout. So leopards are solitary, it is their nature. If you do find them in a group, that's very, very special. Here on Djuma, I've seen 4 leopards in the sighting. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. The Sabi Sands is incredible for its leopard sightings. It is the one place in the world that you are almost guaranteed to see our spotted friends. And I think I've now seen 24 different leopards since I've been here. Not even going to ask Tristan how many leopards he's seen since he's been at the Sabi Sands. It's probably in the hundreds. 24 different leopards in our small little area here. That's incredible, isn't it? And I always wonder the importance of the back lick. It's such an important area for a leopard to lick. It can barely move, it's breathing deeply, but has the energy to turn around and lick itself on the back. That is a marvel. Well, there we go. Finally decided things are safe. He knows that Steve is watching out. He can have a little bit of a nap now. Realise the temperature. There's no way anybody else is going to be moving around, so let me catch a few winks. So Steve is there for a little bit of security. Nice one. Well, you can see Mom is a bit of security here. What she did there now is opened up a portion of the carcass, and now you can see the little ones really getting stuck in there. Obviously her teeth are a little bit bigger, and she knows the technique in which she needs to open it up so that you can get a mouthful. And just that process that we saw was a learning curve for these little cheetah. And they'll more than likely stay for the majority of the afternoon, and then come early evening they should make their way out of the area, because the risk of something coming here is only going to increase more and more as the afternoon goes on. David said that he would like to get tucked in once they're finished. I said I've got my knife and fork and I'm ready. Cynthia, do cheetahs hunt a lot? Yeah, it depends. It depends on prey availability. It depends on vegetation. So on average, every 3 to 4 days, they would try and make a kill. For this mother over here, it would be a little more frequent than that, especially as they start to get older. So typically every 3-4 days, they would, try and get a little meal. But that can also vary. I mean, I've seen cheetah go nearly 8 days without a meal. And as they get more and more hungry, they are just driven and pushed even harder. Obviously just reduced on weight, and they are just lightning quick
at that point. And then they typically stay, they feed as much as they can. Typical behavior of cheetah, they would feed as much as they can, and then from there they would be out of the area. Because running into another carnivore is the last thing that they want here. And these little ones will soon learn that with all the extra added pressures that cheetah have against them. It's amazing when cheetah reach maturity, and at 18 months they become independent, to watch that dispersal phase and know that every day she has been just a driving force to make sure that these little ones have just made it to that point. So to moms around the world, like I said before, for what moms do, it's amazing. So thank you to all the moms. I know it's not Mother's Day, just every day should be Mother's Day, for what mothers do for obviously kids and for husbands and all other things. It's really special to see this. And being solitary, all by herself, well done. Sure, they're all three getting tucked in there now. I cannot believe we do not have a jackal here yet. Our presence might be a little bit of a deterrence, but not so much. We would have jackal here, so they must be on the move now. They'll pick up the smell very quickly, and more than likely very soon they'll be in here. You can see how she's constantly scanning left and right of the vehicle, ears slightly pointed back so she can listen behind her. And she's on high alert. Sure. So those little ones really having a feast. And she's opened up the left rear leg for them to get stuck into all that beautiful meat. And then once they're done, she'll eat a little bit more. Her tummy is full, but she can definitely take a little bit more before the dining room can be left behind. And yeah, they are quite sharp. They've still got their very early staged teeth at this moment, but they are well equipped to rip pieces of meat off. And you can see the way in which their little heads are moving. They would bite into a chunk, and then they would twist the head either left or right to rip or tear a little chunk of meat off to then consume it. They will learn later on how to use their carnassial shares when their adult teeth, or let's say subadult teeth, start to emerge in a couple of months. It's a set of premolars that is used to cut and shear through pieces, especially of skin, when they're getting into carcasses. But their teeth are well equipped at this stage to deal with the flesh that they're consuming right now. Mommy looks very proud. All right, we're going to send you to another safari vehicle, and we'll see you now.
Those cheetahs look so cute. Now back to our lion. He seems like he's waking up. He's scanning there. I can see a big herd of buffaloes approaching. So he's slowly scanning the area. By the look of how big he is, he can take a fully grown buffalo. But that's a big herd for him to take down. Look at them. Sometimes these buffaloes are very brave. They are strong. They can come and chase this lion out of here. But some of them look like they are relaxed, while some are still grazing. It's that time of the evening when he needs to clean himself. Look at that. He's cleaning his mane. Very big lion, what a very big chin. I wonder where he normally goes to, because we only see him maybe twice in a week and then he's off again. The last time I saw him, he was very far. He was by the River Pride area next to the forest. Oh, a little bit of cleaning again. Rosalind, thank you so much for your question. Male lion can grow up to be about 300 kilos in weight. Look at him. His front paw can be about 12 centimeters width, and the back can be about 11 centimeters. But generally, male lions can weigh up to about 250 kilos. We have other people who have come to see this big male here, and they're super much happy to see it. It's always nice when people come here to watch lions, leopard, and enjoy the beauty of the Masai Mara. He's back to cleaning himself again. Those tongues come handy when it comes to grooming each other, when it comes to cleaning. And when lions are grooming each other, they enhance the bond within a pride. Poor Splitnut has no one to groom or clean him. He has to do it himself. Jonathan, thank you so much for your question. A lion can at least go for about 3 to 4 days sometimes without water, but sometimes when they feed, he's up again. Yes, they can go about 3 days without water. Seems like something has caught his attention, and maybe the lioness that was around here was calling the other lions within this pride, so he might have picked that sound. So he's scanning around to see what direction that came from. A little bit of stretch, lion yoga. Wow. He's a big lion. So, and after that, he might mark his territory. He might at least go and scan around this area. He's decided to sleep rather. But often the time you find that when they do that, they will urinate next to that tree to leave a scent trail. I think close to that tree got a little bit cold. That's why he moved to next towards that termite mound. Oh, a little bit of stretch there. And scratching his back. he's beginning to be active, and I'm sure he's going to be on the move. And as you wait, watching this lion here, let me take you over to another live location.
Well, here I am, and I have found this young male lion who's sort of tucked in. Looks like he is cold, but he is part of the River Pride, and looks like the same one I saw yesterday very late in the evening with two lionesses, but seems like he's not very welcome close to where those little cubs that I've been looking forward to finding for you guys are, because he can be bullied to them, and also he's a threat. He's already heading to around 3 years. So this is coming to a stage where he has to come off edge, and actually, you know, he has to be kicked out or chased out. But he is not ready. The females know that, but they are very, very wary for him to be close to that little ones. It has been witnessed historically, young males like this actually attacking young lions or cubs to death. So those females have to keep him at check, and he has to stay in the periphery. That's where he is. Remember, he is not 100% dependent on these females, because he's already big enough. He can bring down a wildebeest, but he still needs company of the lionesses. This is the area where I suspect, or where we know, that 4 of our lionesses are hiding about 7 cubs. We know of 4 that are about 2 months now, and about 3 that are about almost a month and a half. I saw them briefly, the 3. The 4 I haven't seen, and so I'm really, really looking forward to seeing them. It's a very thick area, it's very mushy, and it's an off-road area. We are not allowed to go in there, and to stay here we have to abide to the rules, and so we have to wait until the day they bring them out. It is such an isolated and perfect area to bring cubs up, because there's long grass, so they don't get extreme sunlight. They can hide in the bushes when it rains, and also they're shielded by the grass all around them, you know, against the wind. So it is perfect. Remember to talk to us, #WildEarth. You know, questions and comments are really, really welcome. He is part of a big pride. They have been scattered all over. We've been seeing 3, 2 1s. I'm really longing to see them and to share that sight with you when they're all together. I think we will have more than 12 to 15 lions. It will be a nice pile of lions. I'm really looking forward to that, and I don't think we have very long. In the next coming weeks, we might witness that. The rain is going around us. I'm hoping it stays away today. It has hit me a good number of times, but if it comes out, there's nothing I can do. It's above my powers. I have to just sit and let it pass. Well, it's a very beautiful scene that I have here. I hope you can see this. It's just green and lush everywhere. You can see how it looks. Well, I'm sticking around here and enjoying this beautiful scenery. Let's see what's happening somewhere else.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody. Welcome to the young male leopard, Sabi's cub, who hasn't done too much since you were last with us. And in case you've forgotten, my name is Steve FAULCONBRIDGE. I'm joined by thereon on camera, and we're very excited, as always, to have you here. It's cooled down quite a bit. It's hard to say about how much we've been in the shade. It's been wonderful to sit quietly for a little bit. The last 2 leopards I've had on Djuma have not stopped moving. Can't complain when you spend time with a leopard. But I'll be honest with you, it's quite nice when they decide to just sit and do nothing for a little while. It means you can, especially during the heat of the day, when it's very warm. So we've been enjoying a little bit of the Tambuti Grove ourselves. And our little fellow has had at least a 20-minute nap now. Little cat nap. I don't foresee any rain on the horizon, as Isaac says there's rain scheduled that side. That's a good question, Trish. I'm not 100% certain. Trish wants to know if big cats have got a double eyelid. I don't actually know, Trish. I don't actually know. I mean, I think they might. Sometimes when they blink, you see that second eyelid sort of cover up. It's possible. Most birds have it. Domestic cats, do they? You're obviously asking the question. You're telling me that they do. I'm not 100% sure. Definitely, it's a form of protection for birds specifically against insects and water. When birds dive, they'll close that second flap. Reptiles, sort of an evolutionary adaptation for protecting one's eye. Bee-eaters, you'll see when they catch insects, it will close over. So as to protect it from any damage from a leg or from a spine or from anything flicking. Or membrane. I think they do. I mean, there you can kind of see if you go in there, Theo. You can see there's sort of a second little layer there on that eye on the top. There's something there. Yeah, there we go. Well, there we go, Trish. There's your answer. They certainly do. He's having a little cat dream right now. I wonder, what do you think he's dreaming about? Little scrub hairs? Jessica, leopard spot patterns are just so amazing, aren't they? There's something about the print that is just so appealing. Obviously, it's not designed to be appealing. It's not designed to be beautiful. It's designed to help them disappear in the most sort of the least amount of cover available as a youngster and as an adult for stalking and stealth. And yet, they are such beautiful animals. Everyone unique. Everyone unique unto themselves, which helps with our own identification. Well, every leopard is unique, and so is every lion. As you can see, we've got 2 lions, which is very exciting. The Shimungwe female and her little cub, who's not so little anymore, are having a good nap under a tree, and that's because it's about 40 billion degrees in the sun, so I don't blame them at all. Now, of course, it's that time where we need to say hello because we've missed most of this afternoon already. My name is Tristan on camera. I've got Impo. It is wonderful to have you along for the ride. And, well, let's hope that we have a better afternoon than we did morning from a tech point of view. We struggled a little bit this morning. We had
all kinds of different sightings, which we'll get into shortly. But these two were sitting and basically were taking it very, very easy. What's interesting with the two of them is that they are essentially it's obviously a very interesting story at this stage of the game because she came from a pride that comes from quite far away. So she initially was part of a pride that comes from the western side of the Sabi Sands. Were known as the Shimungwe Pride, which is why she's called the Shimungwe female. But actually, prior to being known as the Shimungwe Pride, they were known as the Castleton Pride. And they kind of shifted into the western sector from Singita. They were quite a powerful pride for a long period of time, and through various lion takeovers, their numbers were whittled right down to the point where it's just her by herself, and her entire life is going to have changed completely. She would have started out as this, in a powerful pride, and she would have grown up and learned how to be part of a pride system. But since all of her family members have died and she's now kind of on her own, her life will be much more like a leopard. So obviously Steve's been talking about leopards, and a single lioness like this will behave far more leopard-like than she will lion-like. She obviously doesn't have a pride to cooperatively hunt with. She does have a cub, so she'll have to stash the cub, go off and hunt, go back and fetch the cub to take it to meat. She'll have to basically hunt much smaller animals, so she's going to be going after things like impalas, a lot of the time warthogs, so smaller things that's more manageable for her. There's also no point in her killing big animals like buffalo. Even if she does, she's going to probably lose that to hyenas. Because she's on her own, she has a very, 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 very difficult time in being able to defend herself from those various other predators that are out here. So big male lions, big clans of hyenas, she's going to have a lot of trouble with. And so it's incredible to see that she's actually successfully managing to raise these cubs, and especially because she's sandwiched at the moment between two very large prides. She's sandwiched between the Talamatis to the north, which we know are 17 in that pride, and then there's the 18 in Kahumas, if you count the Avoca males with them on each side, that are to her kind of south. So she's kind of between these two massive groupings of lions, and she's got to somehow walk the tightrope and keep her little cubs safe. And the fact that she's done it so far is absolutely amazing. It's testament to her as a mother. Now, as far as we know, this is her first litter that she's gotten this far. I mean, she might have had before that. She's a lioness that we don't see a lot of. She at one point spent a lot of time in Manyaleti, and then since then it's always just these fleeting glimpses of her. She doesn't seem to hang around for long periods of time, but this is sort of her first kind of success, if you want to call it that. And even then, this cub has got so far to go before it will be able to survive on its own. That little cub there must be, just looking at it, around sort of 6-7 months old, which means that it's not even a fully fledged member yet. It's got to have to grow until about 2 years before it will be able to really start to participate in hunting and helping its mother. So it's a long, long road ahead for her, and it's going to be a very difficult road, especially with the fact that we might get male takeovers. They would be ones that would want to try and find her with this cub and obviously kill the cub to bring her into estrus. The one good thing, though, is because she's just her on her own and just the cub, the scent trail that they leave behind, the vocalizing, all of that is far less than what you get from these bigger prides, and so much harder for males and even things like hyenas to be able to find her. But I'm glad she's getting a bit of a rest this morning. She was a bit nervy when we got her this morning. The cub particularly was not interested at all. It was kind of moving from bush to bush, and she was also a little bit wary. So it's nice to see that they've calmed right down this afternoon and are taking it very easy. Now, I said I also had updates from this morning. This morning was a bumper morning from a leopard point of view too. We had Tlalamba. Unfortunately, she was in Buffelshoek, and she was coming south to Djuma, so we're going to try to see if we can find her. And then we also had Hukumuri and Tortoise Pan male leopard. Now, a lot of you won't know who Tortoise Pan is. It's a new leopard that's come out of the Londolozi area. But we'll touch on that a little bit later. For now, we're going to just watch these lions have a little bit of a nap and see if they maybe wake up later.
If there's anybody I trust and that I've heard that would find a leopard, it's Tristan. Well, good luck, Tristan. We believe in you. These little kitty cats are still enjoying a late afternoon lunch. Those little baby teeth getting tucked in there. And prior to a question that was asked earlier, with those small little teeth being quite strong, and being able to be used to get stuck in there, they will have their permanent teeth at about 8 to 9 months of age, which is still a long way to go. But for now, they are doing the job. Oh, look at Mommy looking at us. So Mom also getting involved now, getting her fill. She needs enough fuel to keep her going. Oh, look at that little thing's belly. Daniel, how fast can a baby cheetah run? Quicker than me? I would say these little ones could get up to easy 20 kilometers at full tilt now. Obviously their muscles are developing each day. They're starting to learn on how to sidestep left and right, and their agility is building. But I would say if they had to really put down fifth gear right now, that'd be at about 20 odd kilometers. Obviously Mom, at her skill set, she'd be able to do 75 kilometers in 2 seconds with those powerful hind legs of hers. But I'd put them around about 20 kilometers. I might be off there by a few kilometers or so. That's just a guesstimation, but definitely faster than me. I'm about 10 kilometers on a good day. How fast do you think you are, David?
Maybe 11.
Oh, David says 11. He's quicker than me. You can see our Mom watches the little one as it walks off. You can see she's very alert, because in how far they're now into that carcass, there's a lot of smell coming, and it's almost directly towards us. And even I can start smelling little remnants of what's going on there. So we will soon have other components, other members of this ecosystem coming to suss out what is going on here. It's almost like she's heightened in her alertness in the past, say, 20 minutes. Wow. What a beautiful scene. You can see the one leg bone, the tibia, the femur there, clean. Stuck in bed, good afternoon. I hope you're well. Stuck in bed, they would have taken on long distance already. A couple of weeks ago, so when they were at about 6 weeks, Mom already moved them 7 kilometers in one afternoon. I tracked them physically on foot. I didn't catch up with them, and that's how far Mom pushed these little cats. From the point when they start getting strong, she has to really make them realize that walking is a day-to-day thing, and walking distance is a very important thing for cheetah in the Kalahari. So with full tummies like this, they won't make a great trek this afternoon or tomorrow morning. They might do a few kilometers, find a resting spot, and from there take it easy. But when she's hunting, she can easily do 5 kilometers in a day, and those little cubs would need to keep up. They've got a big building block ahead of them, which they need to obviously hurdle over. But they are doing fantastic at this point in time, which we are very happy about. And so as time goes on, she'll push them hard and harder. This is not her first litter, so she knows what she's doing. And obviously when it comes to an experienced female, the chances of those cubs reaching maturity would be a lot higher. Obviously her having the experience on what and how to do it. Coming back for seconds. You can see how that little one's twisting its head, ripping the meat off the bone. We're going to send you to another safari vehicle, and we'll see you shortly.
Our lion has decided to come into the open because it's getting too cold under the tree. But now, it seems like it's about to rain, and I can feel some few droplets. So this lion, I wonder where he's going to be. If he walks over to the right, then there's lots of buffaloes. If he comes over to this side, there's the lionesses who don't really want him around. Look at how the wind is blowing his mane. What a handsome male. He's still watching over where those lionesses went to. And I hope tonight he's not going to get any closer towards the den. So way over in the distance I can see buffaloes, and it seems like he's trying to avoid that, because if those buffalo get his scent, then they will definitely come and chase him off. That's a big herd. You can see some of them are resting while some are grazing. So that's a breeding herd, and you can see how big that breeding herd is. They get super defensive when they get into that kind of breeding herd because of the calves they have. So if the big bull happen to see him, or if the wind changes direction, they might come his way. Looks a little bit lazy, sleepy. Very strong wind coming his way. So if it happens to rain, then he might just remain there, and the rain will follow him, face an opposite direction where the wind is not at least too strong on his face. Gina, thank you for your question. That looks like it's natural. He was born like that. That doesn't look like he got inflicted by a fight. It seems like, looks like a wart on his mouth. But then that looks like it's natural. But again, Bob Marley, because he has his mane just below the neck, has 2 dreadlocks, and that's the reason why they call him Bob Marley. He's going to be here for the next 20 minutes. But if the rain becomes too strong for him, he might walk under a canopy where he can shelter away from the rain. Kimberly, I hope he gets something to eat. I'm crossing my fingers for him to get a good meal tonight. Despite as having lots of buffaloes. I'm not sure if it's going to be successful, but you never know. Those buffalo are slowly walking towards this direction. And I'm sure if they happen to see him, it will be a game of cat and mouse. So it's that time of the day when these buffaloes want to go and drink. They slowly get grazing towards a good water hole. They prefer drinking at the early part of the morning or in the late afternoon. And then during the heat of the day, those buffalo will take time to sleep, like what this lion is doing right now. Not sure if the rain will move him. Let's see if the rain will move him, if the buffaloes will come closer, as I take you over to another live location.
Well, I wish it would rain here in South Africa because it is very, very warm today. Luckily, there's apparently going to be a cooling down tomorrow. It's going to drop by 11 degrees, which will be nice. It'll certainly feel a lot cooler than it has today. It's been a hot day, but just getting started, I suppose, for the summer period. The days in summer get warm out here, and life becomes a lot trickier. Luckily for the animals, though, this summer so far we've had a fair amount of rain, which has meant that there's a nice available amount of shade for these guys to find when it's hot like this. And with the cats, it's incredibly important. They really don't do well if they cannot find shade and water. So you find most cats survive in areas where there's some semblance of shade, even in places like the Kalahari Desert. They'll use those kind of concrete ridges and try and get in the little caves, or find a camel thorn or something like that they can get under. If there's nothing like that, then you find cats really do struggle in very hot weather. You can imagine being in a fur coat in temperatures that are 120 degrees Fahrenheit, not very pleasant at all. And so shade, water, combined with the ability to pant, allows them to survive in such extreme environments in many ways. And obviously then cold is the opposite. Their coat is just a lot thicker in places where they survive in extreme cold. Luckily for these cats, this part of the world, and probably the cats actually in the Mara have it the best because of how temperate it is there. Very, very minor changes in temperature in comparison to here, and even less so than in comparison to other parts of the world. The Kalahari is a prime example of that. You can have those 120 degree Fahrenheit days in the summer, and then in the winter, it can be kind of 0 degrees. So it's not a pleasant kind of change that they go through, that's for sure. Now you can see the cub is up and moving around and twitching and grooming. It's probably, being younger, it will have a little bit more energy than mom, but it's also fairly wary of what goes on. As I was saying to you this morning, it really wasn't that happy about vehicles. Its exposure to vehicles is far less than, let's say, the cubs of the Djuma Pride, and because she's on her own, you find that this little cub is growing up a little bit more like a leopard cub would be. And so if it hasn't seen a lot of cars, it's a little bit wary, doesn't really know where to go. And so every time there's a rustle, or there's a bird that chirps, or even me talking, this little cub wakes up and kind of looks in our direction. But it looks healthy, and a beautiful kind of coat, so in good condition, which is exciting. I'm glad that it's looking as healthy as it is. And there's something about little lion cubs that is super cute. As most people know, I'm a kind of leopard fanatic, and so lions don't really kind of get anywhere close. But I will admit that lion cubs are equally as cute as a leopard cub in terms of, their looks. They're fluffy, and they tend to have just as much attitude and kind of playfulness as the leopard cubs do. So it's always a treat when you get to spend time with them, and especially when they start to wake up and kind of move around. It'll be really interesting later in life to see how this little cub grows up, if it has a very different nature to, let's say, the cubs of the Djuma Pride, and how it learns to survive, because If you think about it, this little one, unlike in a normal pride where you've got multiple different individuals that are going to be playing with each other all the time, and they're going to be, teaching each other how to kind of tackle, how to hunt properly, how to bite, how to, defend themselves. With her, she doesn't really have that, unless mom plays with her, it's not really a thing that she's going to have. She's also going to see mom targeting things like impalas a lot of the time, and it's going to be really interesting to see if this little one actively acts the same when it's older, or if it starts to basically realize it's a lion, and if the pride develops and gets bigger, or it joins with another pride, which can happen even if it is a little female. I'm actually not sure what the sex is of this little one, but even if it is a female, it's possible that it can join with another pride, and to see whether or not it fits in with that and will actually kind of choose to target things like buffalo and giraffe, or if it's going to always be one of those that tries to go after smaller prey animals based off what it's fed on when it was with its mother, and what it's kind of seen its mother hunt. So it'll be a really, really fascinating process going forward. As I was saying earlier, though, it's going to be a difficult time for this little cub. It's certainly not out of the woods. The next, I would say, probably 6 months to a year is going to be tough, because the cub's only getting bigger. Mom's got to provide more food, but yet the cub is not able to participate in the hunts really for the next period. So this is going to be a vital test of what's going on. We also know that the male lion dynamic within this area is constantly in a state of flux. The evokers currently sit in prime position, but we do know that there's these 4 young males that have been around. There's these 2 big males that have been coming in from the Kruger and seemingly pushing more and more west. By the day, they were seen quite far into Buffelshoek the other day. So there's a lot going on, and it means that for this little one, life is going to be fairly tricky, and I would imagine she's going to be a lot more nomadic than what you would see from the likes of the Nkumas or the Telematis or Torchwoods, for that matter. Fascinating, though, isn't it, that there's that resilience of a single mother to protect its cubs and to, basically nurture a family, even though it's a family kind of centered animal and it's grown up in a pride, a big pride. The fact that she by herself is managing to raise this just goes to show you how much instinct they rely on and how resilient these cats can be when it comes to raising of little ones and being mothers. It always fascinates me watching animals raise their offspring as a lone parent, particularly in more social animals like lions. Super fascinating. All right, we're going to sit here and continue to watch and see if maybe mom wakes up. The little cub has decided she's going to be a goat. I think it's a she, I'm not sure, I must double check. It's going to be a goat and eat grass, and so we'll see if mom wakes up and maybe leads them to water.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is to me from andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. Right here behind the camera, I have Gerard, and here we are with a beautiful head of buffalo. As you guys can see, this is lovely sighting. As you can see, a lot of youngsters as well. Wow, look at these 2 just chasing each other now. Wow, they're actually nice and start getting nice and green now. This herd, it looks like they might be slowly heading down to the watering hole, but still quite away from a watering hole. Very good condition. As you can see, like a mothered cow right behind. She's just staring at us, and which is lovely to see animals like this. This is my favorite animals, buffalo, because they're always up on something, and then you can see the cow. She's just standing there with the even.
Welcome back to Djuma. Sorry about any technical difficulties there, everybody. We are still with our young male leopard. He hasn't done much. He is flat. At least he's been sleeping. It's been a good... How long has it been now? Almost an hour he's been napping. That's a proper little cat nap. This young fellow. The sun is slowly making its inevitable way to the horizon. The temperature is slowly decreasing. It'll still be some time before he decides to get active, and I think his primary reason to get active would be to maybe have a toilet break or to go find someone to play with. He's having a proper dream now. Didier, I don't really know too much about tigers or jaguars with regards to their ecology. I mean, I suppose I have an overall understanding. I think they'd both do all right here. Both come from, I don't know the temperatures from where jaguars originate, but tigers come from very warm climates, and they are very, very efficient hunters. Although their camouflage is designed to camouflage them in a very different type of environment, one of a more sort of longer standing grass environment. Oh, proper dreams now. Yeah, I think tigers would do right. A friend of mine who I was actually working with in the Northern Kruger, he was from India, and he had a beautiful big tiger face on his T-shirt. It was a tiger's face, not a leopard's face, tiger's face. And if he put it on, the monkeys went absolutely ballistic. You could tell it was a tiger, but everything about it, I suppose, looked predatory. So I'm sure if a tiger started walking around here, all the animals would know exactly what that thing is. And it would go through the same sort of behavior of how it catches things. And it would catch probably larger stuff. Jaguars are probably a little bit heavier than leopards, and I think adaptable. Invariably, they all come from a very similar sort of lineage, don't they? I think they would survive. They've just evolved to be in different areas. Their whole ecology has evolved from where they are and the climate that has changed around them. Leopards are very adaptable. As far as I'm aware, jaguars are quite adaptable and a little bit more aquatic. Tigers also much more aquatic. So it'll be a good thing to... Unfortunately, well, there's no tigers or jaguars around, so it's hard to really know for sure. But cats are very, 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 very sort of adaptable. Even domestic cats. Domestic cats will survive anywhere. That's why they're such a big problem in islands that they were obviously brought in to control rats. And they've decimated bird populations all over the world. Places like Hawaii, New Zealand, many bird islands. So I don't think if a tiger started walking around here, the kudu would look and go, oh, don't know who that fellow is. They would know without a doubt that is a tiger. We've got someone joining us. You've just given me a moment just to communicate. Oh, 1 second. Oh, someone's found Sabui. Sabui is at Twin Dams, so she might actually make her way here shortly. Sabui is the mum of this little youngster here. It might be a bit early. She might have just gone for a drink, and she might be coming to find her cubs shortly. But we'll stay here, and hopefully when they do meet up, we'll be able to get that for you live.
Welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari. Thank you very much for joining us. And this absolutely spectacular sighting we have here. The two little cubbies decide now tummies are full. More than likely what they're going to do is take a little snooze. And the third one's still very busy with mom. Mom has now started on the front legs, so starting on the shoulder, finding a spot where she can work those teeth in. And you can see very clearly that she doesn't use her paws, unlike the dog family. She just uses her mouth by grabbing and then twisting to tear chunks of meat off. They've got very small teeth. And they also don't have a very, very strong bite force. It's only about 400-500 pounds per square inch, unlike that hyena that we saw yesterday that has about 1,000 pounds per square inch. I mean, ours is only between 150 and 200, our bite force. So just meat is consumed here, a little bit of hair and skin. She also go for the heart, the lungs, liver. Intestines will be discarded. And then all the bones left over for the jackals and the hyenas. Oh, still got some space there. Well, European beet is flying over us. Wow, nice. There we go. What a beautiful sound. So obviously she is using her hearing, and she would be using her eyesight and sense of smell to pick up on any carnivores, but she would also use birds. So if there's a bird nearby and it gives an alarm call, that would be used as an early warning system for her to get these cubs out of here very quickly. And she's definitely getting her fill now before they have to leave this area. So I'm sure everybody's been through the situation where you eat so much that you actually feel uncomfortable, and then after that all you want to do is just sleep. You can see that cub there on the left-hand side, the eyes getting very heavy. It's even found a more comfortable position to lay in.
Yeah, guys, as you can see right here, there's a whole lot of impala right here. And then on our right-hand side, we have a female leopard. She's trying to hunt this impala very, very close. Anything can happen anytime. We'll just sit and wait here and see the signal, because the leopard is about maybe 20 meters away from the impala. We don't want even to move, because if we move now, we're going to ruin our hunting. So we're trying to stay here quietly. As you can see, the impala just got no idea, and I can't believe the wind blowing strongly towards the impala, but they couldn't pick up any smell of a leopard. And the leopard can, any minute, she can start chasing to them, but she's making sure she doesn't make any mistake. And also you have to remember, leopard have to make sure aiming one animal there, because there are so many impala right there, and impala have no idea, which is good. Some of the impala facing away from that leopard, some of them impala facing right straight towards the leopard. But what is good here, there's a lot of nice tall grass here. There we go. I think I saw the movement behind this bush. And yeah, for now we are waiting and that signal to see. As soon as the impala start running, the leopard will be right on that. See, maybe she'll get the lucky, and maybe we can move slightly forward and see if the leopard is still around, because the impala doesn't look like now I have any idea. Or slightly move forward. Okay, to see. Move along this road. Yeah, it's so nice, windy, and so the impala's got no idea. As you can see them, just grazing, grooming each other. Wow. Just trying to see where exactly that leopard, because he was right next to these bushes. Just keep eye more into our right. She just went into these bushes on the right hand side, but I can't really see any sign. I'm pretty sure she won't be too far.
Unfortunately, as the way things go in the bush, sometimes there's a few little tech issues, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with that male leopard. What you can see is our lines have moved slightly, and they're being complained at by some Swainson's spur fowl, which you can see just behind them. Can you hear them? Now, they are making a bit of a noise because they've obviously seen these lions, and the cub is very interested in these little birds that are walking past it. She hasn't tried to run out and go after it, but they were also woken up by some male impalas that were chasing each other and snorting and carrying on, which I thought might lead to mom getting up and going. Often what you'll find is when lions or leopards hear impalas chasing one another, and they hear that gargling, snorting, shouting that impala males do when they chase each other or chase females, is that they'll move quickly close to it. And the reason why they do that is because when they are in that mode, impalas don't watch out for what they're doing. They kind of just run chasing each other, and often can be quite sort of blinded by the infatuation of chasing one another, that they actually don't notice predators. And so if a predator can get itself into a position and lie flat, often impalas will run straight into them, and it will provide a decent meal. And of course, when we look at, this lioness, we were talking about it earlier, a male impala would be a really good meal for these two, even though they are bigger than a leopard, and even though, that's normally what we see leopards take, it would be a really healthy meal that they could get. And you can see by the cub's demeanor or back leg area that it could do with a little bit of a meal, and filling up of the tummy. Mom looks better, but is also due for a meal. I mean, she's not skinny, but she's definitely due for a meal. Often people see cats and when their tummies are a little bit sucked in, and they gasp and think that these animals are on the verge of falling over. You'll be surprised how far they've got to go until they are really weak. When that stomach sucks in a little bit, yes, they're hungry, but they're not desperately in need. What you need to look at with any sort of cat, in terms of their condition, is more their muscle structures. So you look at their hind legs around the hip areas and tail area, and then the shoulders. And if you can see fairly decent muscle structure there, then they're in healthy condition. The stomach will expand and contract heavily with food. If you had to see the nkumas prior to a giraffe and then you see them after a giraffe, you'd be shocked at how much that tummy expands, and then you see them 12 hours later and how far it's come down again. So these guys, even though they might look fairly kind of gaunt around the stomach area, their muscular structure and the muscles around the hip and the tail are good at this stage. They'll definitely be fine. They just a little meal would be nice. You'll also find that cubs at this age will also have a little bit of a lanky, kind of skinny look to them. They haven't quite grown into their bodies just yet, so ears and paws look slightly too large, and they kind of get into a skinny phase, if you want to call it that, where everything kind of slims down, and then they start to put on a bit of size. Well, it's been a long day of hot weather. Nice thing now is that sun has gotten a lot lower, and it is much cooler already, and there's a nice little breeze blowing, so I'm sure that these guys will get up just now. She was starting to yawn a little bit, and that's always a good indication with lions, particularly, that they're thinking about what they're going to be doing next. And the nice thing is that they're facing towards Djuma. We're on Simambili at the moment, which is the property that joins Djuma to the west. So they're facing east at the moment, they're looking like they want to maybe head back towards kind of Sydney's Dam, and then there's a little pan just inside Djuma, south of the access gate from what we call Gari Gate, that they might go and drink at. It's a popular pan for a lot of the cats, particularly the leopards. Hukumuri, Shadulu, they use that pan a lot. So she might head there. It's literally a straight line from where we are to those particular pans. So let's hope that happens, and maybe they'll come spend a couple of days on Djuma. The likelihood of that is probably quite low. I suspect that you'll find that they'll just cross straight back up towards Manyuleti. They like to just kind of loop around the entrance gate to the Sabi Sands and back into the Manyuleti system. They don't really come too far south from where we are right now. All right, well, we'll be patient. Hopefully they'll get up and move, and hopefully the flies irritating their ears drive them to enough madness that they start to get up and go. Welcome back, and well, it sounds like it's a bit of a cat today afternoon. Although it is Tuesday, we'll take it, won't we? So, Sabui's young boy has decided to wake up. And Rexon has indeed found Sabui. She's closer to Twin Dams Road. Not far away, probably a few hundred meters. Oh, there we go. That was way too much. You heard someone say, "Where's Mum? Where's my mum? Does that mean I'm going to get some food?" It's still too early. You know, you get that feeling your alarm clock goes off. You take your covers off and you sort of attempt to climb out of bed, and then you realise just a few more minutes. Theo knows that very well, don't you, Theo? Yes, he does. Now, bearing in mind, everybody, early mornings are to us what sort of middle afternoon are to leopards. Late afternoon are to leopards and lions. Their clock is completely the opposite way around. They are night owls. Hello, Jamie. Well, very good question there. Can you see the leopard's eyes here? Look underneath his eyes. There's lots of spots there. The cheetah have got a dark tear mark. If you go from the tear duct all the way down on either side, there's a dark tear stripe that comes down the side of the nose on either side. And on the body itself, around the neck and head, it's difficult to say. But on the body itself, if we go onto the body, you'll see that there are rosettes on a leopard's body. There we go. If you look on the sort of rib cage, the rosettes with the bronze or gold inside, that is a rosette. Cheetah have only got solid spots like what you see on the leopard's shoulder. Everywhere solid spots. Cheetah also a little bit more, or a little bit skinnier. Their head is a little bit more flat on top, but definitely the tear stripe on the eyes, very easy to tell. Cheetah are a bit taller, a little bit longer. Their build is a bit slender, and their tail's also longer. But definitely by looking at the nose, the tear stripe, much smaller body frame. And you'll never see a cheetah sleeping like this. Cheetah sleep with their head elevated. They're always looking around. They must have the worst neck pain in the world. Constantly looking around. They don't trust anything. I've never seen a cheetah sleeping flat. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. You always see them elevated head. I hope that answers your question. If you did look at a cheetah's feet, like the front foot there of that leopard, you tell that there's no claws extending out. Those claws are protractile in the leopard, which means they go back inside. They're pushed out with extension of the muscles, and they go back in the relaxed position. Cheetah's claws are out completely, like a dog's, because they use them for running, almost like running spikes. So you'll see that the cheetah's front claws, back claws stick out, but they do claw. Their thumb is left inside and very, very sharp.
Hello, Angie. Leopard's irises are... Ooh, the pupil is round. So... It's not like... It's round, I'm sure. We can't look at it right now to tell you. But do I have my leopard book on me now? No, I don't. The eye of the cat. It's not like the domestic cat. It's got sort of a, what would you call it? A diamond-shaped sort of eye. What do you call that? Sort of slitted eye. I've never noticed a lion or leopard's eye to be that. The pupil obviously is dilated, so very, very small at the moment, and opens up very large when the light is fading, able to take a lot more light out of the sky or the atmosphere, enabling them to see in near pitch dark environments. See if we can get his eye there, Theo. Quick. Oh no. Leave me alone, flies. Open up. The flies have only started to emerge from the rain. Soon they're going to be everywhere, especially when the buffalo realise that Djuma's growing their grass back again. The buffalo will be here, and the role of the dung beetle to turn a lot of that dung into the soil. They struggle to keep up. And wherever the buffalo have been, sorry, it's just another vehicle in the sighting. And you can see, you can't really see anything to the iris. The eye is all sort of a nice big ball, and the pupil is a round one that extends or expands in a round shape. And it's just a vehicle leaving. I think they're going to go and see the mother of this youngster. There we go. There's nothing much to it. Beautiful eyes. At night, you'll notice that that pupil in the middle completely covers the extent of the eye that you can see. Quite incredible, in fact. They get that wild look to them at night. Often when we saw it in the infrared spectrum, cats would look at us. I remember that one time Hosanna walked up to the front of my car and looked at us over the bonnet. Sebastian was on camera, if any of you remember, a couple of years ago. He's looking at us over the dashboard. Well, I was looking at him over the dashboard. He was just looking over my bonnet, and his eyes were wide. And they just get this really crazy feral look to them at night, cats, when their eyes are taking in all of their surroundings. And obviously their senses are on fire. And it's time when they're most active, of course. Okay, well, you're going to stay right here. I'm sure the little fellow is going to wake up for us shortly.
Maag is vol, oogies toe. Stomach full, eyes closed. Typical behavior being displayed by these young cubs, having their fill, and they've decided now it's time to take a little snooze. You can see how they've shifted a little bit further to Mom's left-hand side, where the shadow is being cast now from the setting sun. But what we're hoping for is now with that little snooze, little cat nap that they're going to have. Hopefully they'll get up in the next couple of minutes and become very active. Eat, sleep, and play. That's the order of business for these little ones. You can also see flat. It's nice to see them like this, where everything is just perfect for them. They have really finished that carcass. It must be at about 80% done. There's a little bit of redness, so just beware, please, guys. They've really finished that carcass off. They've done a good job. Excuse me. And they might get tucked in there a little bit more if they've got space. And then more than likely what they'll do is move off from the spot, because you don't want to be here under the cover of darkness. It's even more risky to be here under cover of darkness. And Mom being very relaxed now, also putting her head down. Up, head back up, and look at her ears. Her ears are slightly pointed backwards, listening to us. She's fact-checking me as well. Nice black markings behind the ears. Oh, beautiful. Very elegant cat. Cheetah have to be some of my favorite big cats to watch, just because of their high activity levels. And yeah, they're just super beautiful to look at. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Angie, them being this small and also their numbers, so being 3 of them, to track them can be quite a challenge. So if we had to physically track these cats, I would focus on Mom's tracks, because Mom's tracks will be a little bit more defined in terms of direction. These little ones, when they are following Mom and they're moving from point A to point B, they are very active. Obviously, having siblings, you've got a play partner while you're moving. And cubs at this age don't just walk with Mom. They run up and down, chase each other. They play almost like a game of tag. So it is easier to follow because there's more tracks, yes. But if I had to physically track, I would stick onto Mom's tracks, where she would make a heavier or more defined print. Tracking cheetah is very hard. It's some of the hardest when it comes to tracking animals because of its light weight. Obviously, having thinner bones, small head, they don't weigh a lot, unlike a leopard or a lion, which has a lot of weight behind it. So tracking cheetahs is a task, and following Mom's tracks would be easiest to track these little ones. But they're small. Their tracks are only at about, in terms of length, they're only about 4.5, maybe 5 centimeters at the moment. Mom's tracks would be at about 11 centimeters in length, maybe a little bit smaller than that. But with the displacement of the soil, that'll obviously make them look bigger as well. They're still growing into their length. So let's put them at about 3 centimeters in the sand. Yeah. But really nice to see. Maybe if they move off, we'll try and get to a spot where we can actually see the little tracks. It'll be great for you guys to see these little footprints. Oh. I'm also readjusting. Can definitely see she's had a fill. You can see the belly quite extended there. Wow, how beautiful is that? Paige, their hearing is quite good. It's not phenomenal like a wild dog. Obviously, size would be a factor here. Their hearing is good. Communication is obviously done via vocalization, and their hearing needs to be good enough to pick up on their vocal communication. And their sound is quite unique. It almost sounds like a bird chirping when they're trying to contact call each other. The little ones, their sounds are almost does sound like a bird chirp. So the hearing is used for communication, so it does need to be fairly good to pick up on members. But unlike a wild dog that, can hear up to about 3 kilometers when they vocalize, a cheetah wouldn't be as far as that. Obviously the size of their ears. But then also you guys were talking about the hair inside the ears. If David can get us nice and close, you'll see that Mom has quite a lot of hair inside the ear opening. And that hair is just enabling better quality to be produced. So the wind not disturbing her sense of hearing. So she's allowed good quality sound. Because now with the ears pointed back, you would have quite a lot of wind rushing into the ear opening and creating quite a lot of disturbance. And that's obviously a big negative for her if something sneaks up on her. Beautiful whiskers, picking up wind direction as well. Also when cats moving through tight spots, using their whiskers to judge distance, especially when they're hunting. Sure, those long legs. She's also taking it easy now. So now is when they have the luxury just to kind of slow down. Alright, we're going to send you off and we'll see you here shortly.
Right, well, we're still sitting with our lions, and it's actually been super interesting. The longer we've sat here, the more curious this little cub has become of us. Keeps getting up and moving that little bit closer, and then just watches us with these big, bright eyes, as if to say, what are you up to? Who are you, and what is this strange vehicle? Ultimately, in its life, it's probably seen a fair few vehicles, but those vehicles have all been normal game drive vehicles, which are much longer. There's people on the back, but this is a very funny vehicle because it has a little antenna off the back, which almost makes it look like a warthog with its tail up. And so it must look very strange to some of these animals when they start to see these things for the first time. I know when we saw Ntlangula the other day, and he kind of at first took one sort of look at this vehicle and was almost a bit apprehensive, and then realized, oh wait, it's just a car, and then carried on as normal. But they definitely have a slight kind of hesitation at first when they see it. And this little cub, I think, has gotten so curious, it just wants to come a little bit closer and see what's going on and check us out and make sure we're not anything to worry about. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful little animal, that's for sure. They're starting to wake up now. You can see Mom is grooming herself. She started to yawn. It's always really good signs that they're going to start moving. She seemed to pick up something in the wind because she was sleeping. Hello, little one. Are you rolling on your back? She was sleeping, and then all of a sudden her kind of head slightly lifted from a sort of side-on position, and she was smelling, and then she bolted straight upright and just stared off to the east. So I suspect that we're going to start to see them waking up. And watch this little interaction. Oh, look at that. Mom just gave the cub a big hug. And now there's a bit of grooming going on. Isn't that sweet? Oh, look at that. It's a pity the grass is so long, but little cub is nuzzled up to Mom. That's very, very cute. And you'll find that they'll have a little game probably. This is part of her duties, unfortunately, with only one cub, is that she's going to have to do a lot of the playing. So she'll have to deal with the cub's little boisterous nature. Look at that. Now, earlier I was talking about the games that these lion cubs play when they learn about, tackling things and how to bring animals down. And this is going to be all part of those things when it grabs Mom's paw or even Mom's face. And there's also a bonding element that's going on here. So they're just reaffirming their bond as a mother and cub. special to witness these kinds of things. This is the thing about being patient out in the bush. And, lions have been sleeping most of the afternoon, but all of a sudden they've just started to kind of wake up, and you can see that there's this really beautiful interaction that's taking place. And if you were in a rush and you just saw lions sleeping, you left, you wouldn't be able to see these kinds of things. Victoria, how much suckling does a cub of this age do? At this stage, probably not much at all. If you look at her mammary glands, which are quite tricky to see between all of the grass, but on her tummy there, you can just make out some of her teats that are still recovering from where they were suckled, and you can see that there is no swelling around them whatsoever, and there's no matted fur. Now, if a cub was suckling, it would be quite matted there, and those teats would be a little bit swollen. So I suspect that this cub is pretty much off milk completely now. Generally, they by now are pretty much weaned. So I don't think she's going to be producing any milk. Like I say, those mammary glands are completely down. The hair looks like it's starting to grow back now. And so I think you'll find that this little one, unfortunately, is not getting any milk, because I'm sure it's enjoyed its milk for a long time. It was an easy meal. Now it will probably be just on meat, and it'll be really interesting to see if this little one starts to develop any sort of hunting instincts early on and catches things like francolins and the likes, because of the fact that it's going to be left on its own a lot of the time. When mom is out hunting, you'll find that it's going to have to fend for itself, and that's often where leopards learn to hunt little things like lizards and birds and the likes, and so I'm sure she will too. Pele, you're asking what is the survival rate of a lone lion? Really dependent on a number of factors. So it depends where they are, as to how many other lions are in the area, how many hyenas are in the area. Those are all going to determine whether or not the lion does well. Funny enough, though, if you look at some of the sort of stories of lone lionesses, a lot of them actually do quite well. Not so much in rebuilding a pride, but surviving on their own, they actually do okay. They're much more powerful than something like a leopard. And so they have that ability to defend themselves. I mean, they're not going to be robbed by leopards. Really, it's only big clans of hyenas and other lions that they've got to worry about. And so if they're clever in the way that they do things, they generally can do okay. So the survival rate should be pretty good. Most lone lionesses that I've seen have done fairly well. And, the males don't really give them that much of a hard time, because ultimately they're especially a lioness of this age, you can see she's producing cubs, so a male lion knows that. So he might attack the cub and she might try to defend herself, and that might get her killed. But if she doesn't have a cub with her, the male, all he's interested in is just mating with her, and so he won't kill her or attack her. Even if it were to come across, a pride where there's a male in it, if her kind of scent is laid down that she's an estrus, that male will break off the pride and try and track her down to mate with her. So her survival rate should be pretty good, but like I say, that's a really dependent on the area question. A lone lioness in a place like the Mara with such a high Serengeti ecosystem with such a high density of hyenas would be pretty tricky, and a high density of lions. You're looking at close to 9,000 hyenas in that reserve and over 3,000 lions, so it's a lot of individuals there that can take out a lone lioness, so it'll be a lot harder. But isn't this the sweetest thing? Who knew a tail could be so much fun? Mom is not enjoying it at all. She's grumbling and groaning, but the little one is absolutely loving the tail. You can see she's starting to get irritated when that tail starts to flick like that. Often a lot of you will ask us, what are the signs of an aggressive cat? So if you see that, if you've been walking and you see a lioness doing that with her tail, what she was doing now with this cub, that's a sign that she's getting irritated. When they flick their tails like that and it's back and forth, it's an irritation signal. Obviously the cub is playing because it's lured to the movement, but mom is saying to cub, enough, I want to move, and that's why she's gotten up and is walking away. It's going to be really interesting to see where she goes from here. I'm hoping they're going to go for a drink of water. There's still some beautiful light, so if they do go drink, it could be really, really pretty. The problem is with lions is often they do this, is they get up and they walk 5 meters and then they flop back down again, and they just walk far enough just to get away from the cub. Now, because this cub is a little bit more shy, what I'm going to do is wait for cub to go with mom before we even start vehicles or follow, and we're going to give them a fair bit of distance. The idea behind that is because we don't want to scare this cub. We're not trying to make the cub fear us. Obviously, you can see this cub is perfectly at home with me speaking and parked here, but as soon as you start driving and you're off-roading a little bit, the cub gets a little bit more kind of wary. And so what you want is you want them to understand that we're not trying to hurt them. And you can see the line that this cub takes. You notice how much different it is to mom. Mom walked between us and that tree that cub's going behind now. Cub, a little bit more wary, gives itself a little bit more space, and you see now it loops around and then comes back to where mom is, and mom is just kind of in front of a big tree that's in front of us. So what I want them to do is I want them to get a good 10 meters, 15 meters ahead of me before we start the car, and then we give them the space to move as we go. But they are heading in the right direction for water, which is really, really exciting. We also know that there is impalas in this general direction because we heard them a little bit earlier. All right, let's see if we can keep up with them. Like I say, we'll just take it slow and give them as much space as possible. So while I try and catch up with them and just try and follow them through towards the nearest water, we're going to see if we can send you guys across to one of the other magical parts of Africa. Welcome back. Very good, Tristan. That cub is a little bit skittish, isn't she? She. I haven't been able to ascertain the sex yet on that little one. I've seen it twice. First time I thought it was actually part of the Djuma Pride, but I was corrected. I wonder if you've managed to identify the sex yet, everybody. If Tristan's seen it, let me know. I'd like to find out. But interesting, they might pop over to Djuma. That would be interesting. Nice to see some lions on the property. But our little fellow here, put his head up a few times, but hasn't really done too much. I think we're going to give him another 20 minutes or so. A lot of other vehicles are starting to come out and drive, so we might need to make space shortly. But for now, we're still good. So for those of you who are interested in spot patterns, if you want to go back to that shot, sorry, Theo, are interested in spot patterns onto the above the nose, below the nose, they're on the right and on the left, just underneath where the camera is now. You'll see that there's, if you go from the line on the nose left, there's 2 spots, and then no line of the nose right, there's 2 spots. So this would be known as a 2-2 male. And that is what we generally look for when identifying. And in a camera trap, and a leopard walks left or right, sometimes camera traps are placed in a way that there's a camera trap on either side, so you get both profiles of the animal. That spot pattern, and sometimes others on the body are also used to identify exactly who's who. If it's not a fully grown male, it could be anybody moving through, so you wouldn't be certain. But if it's a fully grown male with a spot pattern that matches the fully grown male of the area, and you can be certain it's him. When I worked at Lubombo years ago, all of our leopards were named that after their spot pattern. Some of them actually got given names. So I just need to get onto the radio. Anna Marie's got enormous paws. When I found the tracks of Sabui and her 2 cubs on Chitu a little while ago, we tried to find them, but they left the property, went onto nets or vessels, I'm not sure. But I found what looked like 2 females and a big male walking around. And then you suddenly realize it must have been her and her cubs. But even Tandi's little cub, his feet are enormous already. He's got feet bigger than Tandi's. They're just a bit more squished. Show the characteristics of being a male, being very wide. Obviously, males are heavier and bigger than females, and they're going to grow into their feet.
Just like with dogs, when you see a little dog somewhere, look at its feet, you know he's going to grow into them. So it's very easy to identify male versus female, even when they're younger. Not when they're cubs. Cubs are very hard to tell, but as they get older, the size of the feet. And obviously when they're not fully grown, you can kind of see they haven't quite reached the size of Hukumuri or Tingana's feet or Mulwati. Then you know it's a young male leopard moving around. He's just flexing his toes. Now, there's a squirrel shouting off to my left-hand side. It is possible that his sister might be on her way through. We'll have a look. I did have a little squirrel post yesterday on my Instagram talking all about alarm calls and how it's important for squirrels to alarm call for their own safety due to the fact that absolutely everything is out to eat them. And that don't always reliably indicate too much for me, but birds of prey, they are spot on with birds of prey. I've seen leopards walk straight past a squirrel and the squirrel didn't budge. It just realized if I make a sound, I'm going to get eaten. But we'll see. His sister did a cross directly south from where we are this morning. Apparently that's what Andrew told me. So all three are around. Sabui, Twin Dams, this young boy over here, and Sabui's young girl somewhere over there, we're not sure. But I'm almost certain at some stage they will meet up. You might hear the sound of another vehicle as it moves off. So we are alone again, so we don't have too much pressure at the moment, but that might change shortly. But we'll try to stay with this youngster as long as we can.
Hello. Oh, now we're having a little bit of dessert. I've decided that this 3-course meal is on offer. Why not? Obviously, after having that little meal that they had, they must be thirsty. I normally find that with lions, young lions, if they've had a feed, the first thing they want to do after that is go to water, and they can be very persistent. But these little cubbies deciding they'll quench their thirst with the nourishment that mom can provide them with. And what a excuse me, and what a nice size it is. Johan, why do cats have black markings behind the ears? Those markings are used for visual communication when cats are hunting. With lions, you also find there's black spots behind the ears. With cheetah, those black spots should be a solitary hunter for now, but as those cubs get older, those ears will also be used for visual cues. They can also be used to show aggression. So if a cat is in a threatening situation and it needs to be as aggressive as possible, obviously showing of teeth, the facial features as well will be accentuated by markings on the face. She'll vocalize, but also she'll turn her ears that those black markings are almost facing directly forward, giving her a bit more of impressive, more of an aggressive appearance to deter a potential threat. So used for communication while hunting, where these little ones will start in the next couple of months, but then also used for confrontation when it comes to deterring a threat. And those black tear lines not only used as almost built-in sunglasses, but also are there to be used in an aggressive manner to give the cat a bit more of aggressive facial features when it is trying to put down a strong hand. Obviously very, very important features, and that's one way in how one can identify a cheetah in comparison to a lion, is by having those beautiful black tear lines. And they're really amazing adaptations. So Africa's full of myths and beliefs. The African cultures have got some beautiful stories when it comes to African animals, and there's an African tale that said that cheetah never had these black tear lines before. It was only after an incident that cheetah adopted these tear lines, and the story goes that a mother, just like this one over here, had 3 cubs, and when she's pregnant for between 95 and 110 days, she stashes them once they're born, either in a cave or dense vegetation like thick grass in the Serengeti. In this area it'll be 3 thorns. But they say that a man stumbled upon a little nest, found 3 little kittens inside a nest, and he thought to himself, how amazing, 3 little cheetah cubs. And back in the day, if you look at history,
you can drop kick him.
My brother used to do that.
Sorry about that, everybody. Tswalu, like the rest of us, are all broadcasting from very remote locations, and every now and again technical things creep in. But that's okay, you're still with us. Giving him some time to do something. It's 20 to 6 now. The sun is setting in the distance. The alarm clock for him is about to start going off. But you know, the reason to move now would be thirst or hunger. I mean, he doesn't look like his belly's empty. Of course, he could eat. But what he's waiting for now is just for that temperature to just subside slightly, because it's quite muggy. Quite humid. But the real heat of the summer is still to come. Theo and I have just been playing with my little spray water bottle, which is a real saving grace out here in the heat. Just to be able to spray some water on your face. Allow the cool breeze to cool one down. I've yet to see a young male leopard walk around with a spray bottle to help cool himself down, but that would be a first. Don't quite know if the paws with that dew claw would really be able to manage the bottle. Do you think, Theo? I think it'd be tricky. But for 24 rand, little spray bottle, it's definitely saved my life over the last 2.5, nearly 3 years of being here. Hello, Sony. Normally from 3.5 months, leopards are able to climb trees. I wouldn't say they climb them very well, but they can go up a tree. Getting down is another story, but going up's the most important thing, because if some danger comes along, up the tree they'll go. It's possible at an earlier age they're able to do so as well. I don't think there's like a hard and fast day or age exactly, but generally around 3 to 3.5 months, you'll notice that leopards are able to climb up the trees. And that's for their safety, for their own safety. Obviously, many things are able to catch them if they're on the ground, and that's why you'll find leopards, when they do sleep in the shade of a tree, they've always not got some form of safety net if something goes down. That's why many times when we've seen Tlalamba and she has a kill in the tree, she'll often go and sort of rest 50 odd meters away, sort of the wind side of the tree, the opposite direction to the way the wind is blowing, so that if another leopard does approach, or even a lion is able to get there and up the tree, they go for the kill and they leave her alone. Doesn't want to be surprised. It's one of the things that make leopards so adaptable, their ability to escape and avoid danger by climbing. And the earlier they get that technique down, the better. Obviously the early days as well of feeding, or feeding in the tree that mum is hoisted into, are very important to get that technique down. How many times have we seen young leopards dropping kills that the parents or the mum has very well placed in the tree and losing it to hyena? A lot of practice, a lot of mistakes are made, and they learn. They learn how to secure and how to hold. It takes the good year and a half for them to really learn those techniques, but they still make mistakes up until they're 3. Leopards will still make mistakes until they become completely independent, or they start finding a territory of their own, at which stage they're very efficient and very good at doing what they do.
Welcome back. Oh, Corey Bastard in flight. Big bird in flight there. Look at the size of that bird's wingspan. Wow. That is one of the heaviest flying birds in the world, but it is the heaviest flying bastard in the world. Kori, Kori. Wow, fantastic. So the little cubs have decided they're going to find another spot to relax at, and Mom is now finishing off the rest of this carcass. So, back to that story. Man busy walking, he stumbled upon this beautiful little cheetah nest, and like we've seen with these cheetah, she would leave these little cubs for a day, maybe a day and a half at the most. So he looked in the nest and he thought to himself, I have to select the strongest little cheetah to become my future hunting partner. So he looked at all 3 of them and he thought to himself, the one on the far left looks like the strongest one. He picked the cheetah up, he looked at it and he said, we're going to be the best of friends. He looked at the nest and he thought to himself, maybe I should take another one. So he picked up a second one, and then he thought, okay, well, I've taken 2, I might as well take 3. And he picked all 3 cubs up and he walked away. And they say that the mother cheetah came back to the nest, obviously finding it empty, and she cried for so long that the tears stained her eyes, and from there cheetah have had these beautiful black tear lines. So African beliefs and African cultures are very fascinating, and the stories they have behind animals, birds, trees, mammals is just super intriguing. You know, passing down stories from generation to generation is a very important thing. So tugged on the heartstrings there a bit. I hope nobody's got a tear or 2. David, you have some toilet paper, David. Mom busy calling the cubs back. So she's giving almost like a purr. And then she utters the soft ow. Try and draw the cubs back to her. Oh no, didn't mean for it to be sad. Sorry about that. Tori, would a cheetah continue to have cubs throughout its life? On one off the bat there, yes, she would be reproductively viable and into her late years. In the wild, typically you have cheetah living between 12 and 15 years if they're lucky. So a female can have multiple litters through her life until she reaches a point where it will definitely slow down. I'm not too sure if it's till the very end, but I'm sure into the later years cheetah are reproductively viable, producing multiple litters. Yeah, and it's a big weight in the body. I mean, they also produce a lot per litter. So I mean the pressure on the body is quite a lot, and it's also very quick. I mean, 18 months they're independent, and then thereafter they break off or break away from mom. So it's very tolling on her body. In some places cheetah only live to about 6-7 years old, obviously with predation being a big factor for them. That light is amazing right now. So from the consumption here, she's requiring quite a lot of moisture. Cheetah do drink water if it's readily available, but consuming prey items, they do have quite a large intake of moisture. And you can see how wet her lips are. Wow, look at that. Wow. So you can see what we spoke of with the ears. Dave, can you get in there? Just when she does turn her head, you can see, look how those black markings are almost pointed or facing forward. And that's if she's trying to show aggressive posture. Those ears are rotated, giving her a bit more of an aggressive visual aspect. Calling in the cubs. Wow. Flop down. So we should get a little bit of activity from these little cubs now that they've had their little power nap. Moondust, do cheetahs always hunt during the day? Good afternoon, Moondust. Moondust, that would vary. Obviously, their eyes are designed in a manner to which they would be operating through the daylight period. So a large majority of the hunting does take place through the daylight hours. But you can have cheetah hunting under the cover of darkness when there is full moon periods about. So that's when they have enough light in order to see available prey. They hunt during the daytime also because of the interference of large carnivores. So your lions and leopards and spotted hyena are mainly active under the cover of darkness. That's when they like to be more active. And so if you're hunting at nighttime, you also run a high risk of running into these larger, more ferocious predators. Where I worked previously in the Eastern Cape, we had a cheetah that used to specialize. It specialized himself in nocturnal hunting. So it varies across the board. There's literature saying that, they only hunt during the daytime. There's literature saying they only hunt morning and afternoon. I've seen cheetah midday, 45 degrees Celsius, make a kill. So when the opportunity presents, if there's full moon and the lack of larger carnivores, then they would take the opportunity. But yeah, a large majority of that hunting practice will be through the daylight hours. Those large eyes are really, adapted to diurnal activity. A little cub getting tucked in there again. I think she's trying to encourage them, saying, come and eat. We're going to hold position here, and you're going to send you off to another safari vehicle.
Well, hopefully our boy is going to get more active. Definitely nice when they start getting active. He did a little bit of a movement before. The Franklins are shouting a bit, so it's possible that he's going to do something soon. You never know. Remember, everybody, this is a live safari, so you never know what might happen. Anything could happen. His sister could arrive and he could decide to stalk her. A duiker or an impala could decide to walk through, and then we could see him attempt to hunt. I'm not saying he would be successful, but you never know. I just like spending time with them. Still, it's very special in the moment with our many leopards. You just hear one of the Cheetah Plains vehicles exiting there with their electric motor. He's very interested in that. He doesn't respond to our vehicle, the sounds of the noise, but suddenly you get this vehicle that moves almost silently. Oh, there we go. Hello, beautiful boy. And you see how the pupil has changed already since last time. Already it's double the size it was before. So cameramen out there would tell you that it's time to change the aperture. That is exactly what the leopard's doing with his eyes. Ooh, Theo just did something there. What did you change? The aperture. ND. The what? ND. The ND. Can you speak English, please? ND filter. Oh, the ND filter. There we go. There we go. Camops have got a whole different lingo to anyone else. I only started using the camera about 2 years ago. Not very well, but we get there. We learn as we go. See how their eyes have definitely changed. Temperature is becoming that nice sort of crispness. There's such wonderful eyelashes he's got. What can you smell, young sir? Smells of the bush. He's got such wonderful eyes. Hello, stuck in bed. Yeah, well, leopards and lions have got this uncanny ability to heal wounds on their skin. Hyenas do as well. I think dogs, they lick. Saliva has got enormous amounts of sort of healing properties for these animals. Obviously, a leopard or a lion's saliva on my wound would probably do very badly for me. But for themselves, it's incredible the wounds I've seen leopards and lions come back from. And they will just lick it and lick it and lick it, and that keeps away the parasites, or it keeps away the infection. And the licking as well stimulates it with saliva, almost antibiotic, antiseptic properties. They say the body has got enormous amounts of things that we need to heal. Everything we need for our own healing comes from within us. Oh, little yawn. It's time. Back. Now we're going to see the downward facing dog stretch, or are you doing the cat stretch? What are you going to do, my boy? He's such a light colour, isn't he? Of course, we've been sitting here the whole time thinking you can definitely a boy. It's definitely the boy. But a few people arrive and say, is this the boy or the girl? We waited here the whole time hoping he was going to walk in front of us. But of course, everybody, where does he go? He walks behind us. We're just going to give him a moment to get behind us properly. And then we are going to follow. Okay. I don't want to start until he's a little bit further away. That'll do. Okay, so we're going to follow him. He's heading towards Chitwa. I wonder how far exactly he's going to go. Well, while Steve follows his leopard, we've been following our lioness with a lot of difficulty. We lost her completely. We couldn't find her anywhere. We've been doing loops around because she just disappeared on us. And it seems like she went and had a drink somewhere, I don't know where, and has now come back to call the cub. You watch her, she'll call every now and then. You see her chin there is a little bit dirty. That's an indication that she's had water. Are you going to just lie right there for us? Now the cub, I know we left the cub earlier to our right, so in the direction that she was kind of facing and calling. The cub was lying not far from there at all. So I'm pretty sure with her little contact calls, eventually the little one will start to come out. I'm pretty sure the little one would also like a drink as well. So maybe once she's found the cub, they'll then go and take her for a bit of water. And like I say, you can see that she's drunk quite clearly on her. If you look at her chin, you see that there's like a wetter, kind of muddy patch on her chin there. It's an always indicative thing when lions drink. They, especially at the moment, they tend to go to these small little sort of flooded wallows. And those flooded wallows are lined with mud. So as they put their chin down, they kind of hit the mud a little bit with that hairy chin. And they end up getting it all kind of wet, which isn't ideal. It ruins their beautiful little white chins. And they get this kind of little mud streak to it. I'm surprised the cub hasn't come when she's been calling. It was not far away at all. Like I say, from where we are, maybe 50 meters or so. So I'm surprised that it hasn't listened to Mom and come back. But the direction she's looking now is exactly where that cub was, or where we last saw it. And we left it by itself because we didn't want to spend time on its own. It's getting dark now. I thought maybe, just maybe, when we lost sight of Mom, it's possible that she might be starting to hunt, and that she might have just dropped the cub off and decided, listen, you stay here, I'm going to go and do my thing. And so that's why I didn't want to stay with it, especially as it was getting dark. And so, you know, hopefully the little one will eventually trot its way back to where we are. They sometimes are naughty and don't listen to Mom. They take a little bit of time to get them right. It's amazing, though, that she's just sitting right in front of us. She had this whole area to kind of lie down in, and she's decided that right there in front is where she's going to rest, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. So it's amazing that she's comfortable enough, and considering how they were this morning and how they were kind of moving around, it's really cool to see how they've kind of become accustomed to our presence during the course of the afternoon. Even the little cub, funny enough, was walking behind the car at one point, following us as we were going, as though we were part of the kind of pride. It was just literally behind the car, watching and kind of trotting along as we were walking, which was super cool. So it's nice when you get that kind of level of trust from an animal. And it just goes to show, with a little bit of sort of ethical viewing and spending time and just being quiet around them, they eventually start to accept your presence, and you get a situation like this where you've got one of Africa's most iconic animals lying right in front of you. And like I say, she came from far. We saw her from a long way, and she just kind of walked straight towards where we are at the moment.
Yogeshwar, yes, it's very, very possible that a lioness can make its own pride. If she were hypothetically, let's say, to raise this individual, like I said, I'm not sure if it's a male or a female. Every time it walks in front of us, I'll try and see, but the tail's always so far down that it's difficult to actually see whether it's a boy or a girl. I'm sure somebody out there knows whether it's male or female, but if she were hypothetically in the next litter to have 4 cubs, raise them successfully, then that would form a very healthy pride. If you look at the torchwoods and the nkuhumas, 5 adult females can grow a pride from 5 to 16, 17 very, very, very quickly. And so with her, if her next litter can be that, a group of 3 or 4 females and she can manage to raise them to adulthood, it's difficult for a lone lioness, but it's very, very possible that she could rebuild a pride and form and kind of carry on her lineage, which would be absolutely amazing. It would be such a success story if she did manage that. You always want those animals that are up against the odds to make it. I think it's part of the reason why the likes of Hosana was, kind of such a big thing, because he was, and Shongile and all these, even Tumba to a degree, where they were left very early on in life and they had a lot of adversity to get to the point where they were successful. And you'd want the same thing for a lioness like this, for her to slowly but surely rebuild her pride and for the Shimungwe pride to once again flourish and blossom into a number of different lions. It's, like I say, a long shot, and it's not going to be easy, that's for sure, but it is very possible. She could also hypothetically join with another lioness. We were talking about it a little bit earlier. It does happen from time to time, where a lioness will be assimilated into a pride. It's not often, and it generally is within kind of lineages. So I've seen it where it's like prides that are related in some way, but it can happen that a lone lioness like this finds her way into a pride like the Nkuhumas and manages to somehow fool them into thinking that she's not a threat, and then becomes bonded with them. Once she can get into that point where she can actually start rubbing up against them and they can smell each other, then generally it's okay. And it's an interesting thing, because when you relocate, not so much lions, but something like a wild dog, if you take 2 different groups of dogs from 2 different areas, the bonding process is simply rubbing them up against one another while they're asleep, and using their feces and their general smell to rub all over each other. And when they wake up, they don't really understand it, but they figure out, it smells like them, and
Activity has gotten a bit better here from the cubs. They are now awake, finding mom to play with, and the one cub still getting tucked in there on that little carcass. The setting sun just producing such beautiful light right now on these beautiful cats. And what a treat it's been. I really cherish moments like this where we can sit and watch everything pan out in front of us. And those little tummies are so big they look like they're about to explode. Now they're getting tucked into some milk. Sure. Instead of it being a 3-course meal, it's like a 5-course meal there. Senak, from head to tail, how long can a cheetah get? Senak, from tip of the nose to the tail. Oh, let me just think quickly. Practically, the tail, I think, is about 80 odd centimeters. So, yeah, if I can remember correctly. So I would say that around about 2 meters altogether, head to tail. That's about 2, maybe 2 and a little bit meters in total length. And if you look at shoulder height is only about 80 centimeters. So, yeah, about 2 odd meters in total length. That long whip-like spine is obviously a very important feature for this animal to reach its top speed. It's incredible to see how the body arcs and bends in that almost effortless motion when it's gliding through the air half the time. Yeah, but nice question. Thank you, Senak. It's not a question that gets asked a lot, but I'd put the total length at about 2 and a little bit meters. And with this female, obviously, in terms of weight, she'd be lighter than that of a male, a bit more lightly built. Males obviously have to defend territory, so they'll be a bit stockier, a bit more heavier. I mean, totally only looking at a male weighing about 60 kilograms, that's nothing. In comparison to a lion, I mean, a female's weighing about 100, 120 kilograms. So they've sacrificed all weight and powerful tools for speed. So they are specialists, and carnivores are specialists. Preferring certain prey items, so everything in the anatomy is designed in order to capture prey items, where these animals are finely tuned. We're going to send you off to another location, and we're going to see you now. I'll explain now, not just now.
And you're back, everybody. He's sorry about losing us before. But he's now gone back to where he dropped the monitor lizard. I think the smell put him off quite a bit. He moved away, had to go and just have a moment. The guy's eyes have grown since last. And now he's come back. He's about 1.5 meters from it. He's looking at it going, do I really want to eat that? So maybe we'll see him eat it. I'm not sure. But the smell of it from us, we were about 20 meters from it before. It was hideous. It wasn't the nicest of smelling things. I don't know how long ago it was killed. You start to see the wildness taking over. These are creatures of the night, everybody. He's hoping for something a bit fresher than a rotten monitor lizard. So, last night we spoke about leopards eating monitors. They certainly do. They eat flies as well. Well, I hate flies. No doubt there's quite a few flies swarming around that rotting corpse on the floor. You can see him looking at it going, hungry, not hungry, hungry, not hungry. Kind of meal that leaves a bad taste in your mouth. He's torn. Do I go find my sister, or do I eat that monitor lizard? It's really a difficult decision, isn't it? Where's Mum when you need her to make these decisions for me? Such a character. You can see by that full set of canines that they're very capable of killing. Very capable of inflicting an enormous amount of damage. That monitor lizard didn't know it hit it. So the light is dropping quite a lot. We're going to need to go into the infrared shortly. Oh, there he goes. He's going to pick it up, is he? He's thinking about, no, into stretch. Oh, can you see him? He's touching. Monitor lizard going, are you still alive? You smell very dead. Oh, he doesn't want to eat it. Sorry we can't get any close, everybody. There is a tambuti thicket here and we cannot get into. It's okay. Maybe I can roll back. Oh, hang on. I think that might work. Just a touch. He's got it in his mouth now. There we go. It might look like play to everybody, but it's technique, it's practice. It's how they handle their food, how they catch their food, using the claws. And now he's going to take it for a walk. Sorry, everybody, but this is the best view we have for you at the moment. We'll see if we can go around again, but I don't think we're going to get any better than this. Nothing like a young male leopard and his strut that he has when he's got himself a dead monitor lizard. I remember fondly watching Hosana doing it regularly. In fact, even Shongile had a little bit of a strut when she used to catch it. Now you can see she's got up a little bit and is kind of talking. The cub still hasn't come. We saw briefly behind us, and you can see we've kind of, well, you might not be able to see, but we've moved back a little bit. She's now walked closer again, but we tried to give a bit more space just to give the cub a chance to get to where we are and not to feel like it had to get too close to us to get to her. But Mom is not helping the cause because she keeps, like I say, approaching us, and once again she's walked literally within 5 meters of us and flopped back down again. So we'll probably try and increase the distance once more just to give a bit of space and allow the cub to get to Mom. You can see the yawning though. That's always a indicative sign that she wants to get moving. I think she's talking to the cub to say, come on, you know, I'm waiting for you, and might as well just lie down while she waits, I suppose. But when they yawn like that, and they typically are wanting to move, and given the nature of her tummy, that doesn't surprise me at all. I was hoping we would have seen the little one kind of creeping up, but it's getting to that kind of time where the light is so poor that it's really, really difficult to be able to actually see where the little one is at the moment. So we'll just have to be patient and wait. Such a beautiful evening though. It started out very hot this afternoon, but it's perfect now. Minamu, you're asking if there's any
particular reason why cubs are born with pink noses. Probably, I mean, I don't know if there's a specific reason for it, as in terms of a survival tactic or anything like that, but you probably find it's due to the fact that the cells within the body, much like us as babies, you know, a lot of the time you'll see kids that are born that will have very light-coloured hair, and when they're adults they have dark-coloured hair. It's just that the melanin hasn't had a time to produce properly, and therefore influence the pigment of that nose area. But yeah, I mean, you see adult individuals, so lions, leopards, but not so much in lions, more in leopards, that have pink noses. Look at Thandi, look at Shadow. I mean, Shadow particularly had a very, very pink nose all the way through her life. Thandi's 14 years old and still has a lot of pink in her nose. So there's no real specific function to it. And this idea that you can age a cat based off the pinkness of its nose is not a very reliable one. Yes, in a lot of cases, like lions, the nose does start to darken and gets more black in color, but for the most part, you can find some that will keep the pink nose all the way through, and so it's not a really good age indicator. But what the specific reason is for the fact that it's pink at birth and why it darkens, no idea, really. Like I say, it's probably just to do with the melanin production as they start to go through hormone changes, so that melanin production ramps up and you start to see a change in their nose color and coat color to a degree. But you can see it's starting to get very, very, very dark now. It's probably almost time for us to actually leave these guys. This cub is at the age where, I mean, I think if it was in a pride, we'd probably view it at night, but because it's just a single mom and the cub's a bit shy and you don't really want them to be sort of separated, I think the most responsible thing is to leave them shortly and just to let them kind of carry on and not have to hassle them too much. You know, in this area, what's quite interesting is a lot of hyenas are very, very in tune with what's going on, and if they're on a little patrol down a road and they see lights in the bush, they'll often just kind of cut off towards those lights and go and investigate, because potentially it could be an animal that's got some sort of food. And so it's always better when you have a situation like this to just, let it go and to rather kind of leave them to it. We've had a fantastic afternoon with them anyway. All right, we're going to move on and see if we can get a last-minute Tlalamba. She wasn't too far from this area this morning, and hopefully we'll get it right.
Well, Tristan, I salute you for having the utmost respect for those animals. A lot of guides can learn that and take that forward, because that is the most important thing for animal viewing, is respect, and as well as going through life for people, respecting people. These two are just having a jolt. A lot of energy now. While Mom finishes off the rest of the carcass, they've decided it's playtime. So chasing each other, tripping each other, using the claws. This is their practice phase. When will that white hair vanish from the cubs? That would be at about 3 months. So when they were born, they would have been quite dark in color. And then at about 14 days, that beautiful grey mantle would have started presenting itself. And then, yes, at about 3 months, that will start falling out, and then gradually their spots will become super defined like Mom's. You can see that they're not as prominent as Mom's right now. And that's all an aid just to give them every last chance that they need to survive out here. And Mom calling them back. And they're not listening to Mom right now. Wow. That tripping action that they're doing with their paws, with their front paws, is very important, because that is exactly how an adult like Mom would have taken down this little dacre this morning, is by tripping it either across the hind legs or taking the paw and using the dew claw, which is a claw that remains sharp. It doesn't touch the ground. It's somewhere around their wrist section, which will be put into the hide to set the animal off balance. So very important play behavior taking place here now. All in preparation. It's like us going to school, going through the ins and outs of things. These are the ones that have each other to rely on and to learn, as well as learn from mom. For muscle development as well, very, very important that this happens. Wow, what a sight. So mom obviously getting as much as she possibly can of the rest of that carcass now. And these three just worrying about play. How full their tummies are. Wow. I know, I'm very surprised that there are no jackals here at this point in time. So she's just gotten really lucky that she hasn't had, other negative influences here. I don't know how a jackal has not smelt this carcass. Because with the little ones and jackal, it's not a safe thing. Having some ribs. It's getting into all the little nooks and crannies. All the meat you can get. So do they eat almost everything of the animal? So majority of the meat will be eaten. There is some spots that her dental structure won't allow her to get into. So the meat will be eaten, the liver, the heart, intestines will be discarded. Majority
Right, unfortunately, as things go in the bush, sometimes there's a little technical difficulty, so you're back with us. We're busy kind of driving down Weird Seller Access at the moment. Like I say, where I had Columba this morning was to the north of us slightly here, and she was moving in a southerly direction, so it's a good place to be checking for her. She seemed like she was chasing absolutely everything this morning, and so it's very possible that she'll be on the hunt this evening and milling around. So it's always worthwhile. And if you look at how far she traveled last night, she went from kind of eastern Buffelshoek all the way into Djuma and then back to Buffelshoek and back to Djuma. So she's been moving a little bit. So you never know. Maybe we'll get lucky and find her here somewhere.
Welcome back. Sorry about that.
Sorry about that, everybody. Seems like technical issues this afternoon. Back with us, the Gremlins are having a field day, it seems. Might have caught me singing a little bit there. Theo and I love to have a little sing-song on the car as we drive along. Don't we, Theo? I'm wearing some protective glasses at the moment due to the fact that the spotlight attracts lots and lots of insects directly towards my face. So we have to protect the eyes, as we detailed last night. So we left Sibuyi's cub. He went into the thickets there. We weren't able to see him again. He was eating that, well, we think he was eating it. It was hard to tell. Tried to get around, but unfortunately he wasn't seen again. So we moved out. But it's been a wonderful afternoon. I know Theo and I have thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. There have been content and action all over the place. Nearly started the afternoon with the lion hunt up in the Mara. And well, I was very happy and excited to spend so much time with Sibuyi's cub. So do thank you for your time and your questions and comments. Thanks for joining us this afternoon on this wild safari from all of our locations, all of our guides, presenters, cameramen, and final control. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, have a good night. Goodbye.
My favorite bird has to be the sociable weaver. The enormous nest that they create, their survival tactics to inhabit these harsh and unforgiving environments, and as well as their complex social arrangements is truly remarkable. And the interconnectedness with the ecosystem shows us that we are too. Join me on my next adventure with WildEarth in the African wild.